Welcome back.
Hello,
Overwatch
hi.
Pacific Championship. We're about to head into the final match. Like I said, Hong Kong Attitude take on Flash Wolves.
You can see how excited I am, right?
Yeah.
This is like the final challenge for Flash Wolves, and it's the final boss for Hong Kong Attitude. This is the last team of the top 3 they haven't yet beaten, and it's like they went from 3 to 2 to, well, like, you know, they beat AHQ, and then they beat Blank, and now it's like, oh man, can they beat Flash Wolves? Can they actually do this final one? Like, oh, this is exciting.
Pretty much. I mean, Hong Kong Attitude got one more team to tick off that list, and this is it. They got They saved the hardest team for last as well.
Yeah, they absolutely did. And so the thing that's interesting about this, and I mentioned this last night, so I'll mention it again tonight, now that it is actually relevant, now that we're here watching this match. If Hong Kong Attitude win this, they will go undefeated this round robin.
Absolutely. Actually, the important thing you notice there is if either team wins this, they're probably going to go undefeated this round robin. Because Hong Kong Attitude got a couple matches left to go. They got Sun Sister and Fireball left to go. Flash Wolves only have Detonator left to go after this. So this is the final match for either of the teams. The winner of this will go undefeated, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, there is still the outside chance, you know, Hong Kong Attitude win this and then lose to Fireball, maybe. Like, that's still the outside
possible.
chance. Yeah, but oh man, like this is actually such a surprisingly intense matchup because of Hong Kong Attitude lately.
We're getting a couple thoughts from both sides, which I'll translate over. No one else wants to come up, so I'm usually the one that does this part. What would you like to say? I don't have much to say. Everything is about the same. So we weren't too great last match. So hopefully we fixed up some of those issues. So last week we had a good performance, and hopefully this week we can continue that. So there it is. Hopefully both teams can really do that. And interesting from Flash Wolves is they obviously know they had a couple of hiccups in that last match that they need to fix for this. Because if you got hiccups against Fireball, you're going to have burps against Hong Kong Attitude. Right?
Those are two quite different conditions, medically speaking. I see what you were going for. I see what you were going for. Like I understood your meaning.
Got there in the end.
Yeah.
The destination, we've arrived there though, so that's fine.
I suppose. But like, I don't know, I guess there's no like more intense version of a hiccup. You know?
Pretty much.
Like,
the natural progression there for me was something else. But either way, like I said, if you did struggle against Fireball, what's going to happen now against a technically harder team than Fireball?
Yeah, if the road was bumpy, here we go. If the road was bumpy against Fireball, there may be no road. I don't know.
There may be no road.
This is going to be an off-road challenge. I don't know. You know what? Mine was no better. I can see.
Well, I'm glad we matched each other onto that one. We'll see how well Hong Kong Attitude match up against Flash Wolves because
nice segue.
We kind of mentioned the final boss for them. They get harder and harder. They beat AHQ first, if I'm not mistaken, in the third round robin. Then they beat Blank, and then of course AHQ again. So it's almost like Blank came back with a mini boss, which was the original boss, which is AHQ.
Yeah.
And now it's like Flash Wolves. Here we go. Let's take a look at both of
I just
their
want to hear that
rosters.
Mortal Kombat music playing.
Right.
Anyway, so yeah, Hong Kong Attitude, Mango Jai K4, Jin Kao, Ating, Xiaolin, and CQB. And
seen them already. Zonda, Bacon Jack, Jongi, Kane, Moma, Shinkler, and Real Mint as well. Bacon Jack picking up the player of the game for the previous match.
Which means this one is going to Jongi.
Yeah. Well, hey, are you allowed to give it to Bacon Jack twice in a row? We'll have to find out. If his performance is amazing, I think you might have to actually give it back to him.
Wouldn't you feel like what if it's like, you know, they are not allowed to give it to the same person twice, and like Bacon Jack has a good performance, and then he just has an even better performance? That would make
a
you
second
feel,
level. You'd wonder where that better performance was against Fireball though.
It's like when you hear something surprising and you act surprised, and then you immediately hear something more surprising, but you can't get any more surprised. Like your mate's like, I found $20 on the ground today, and you're like, oh wow, and he's like, yeah, and there's life on Mars, and you're like, wow, like you can't be more surprised, you know?
Oh boy.
You've already hit that limit. Like, what do you do then? Anyway.
Something I'm looking forward to seeing is the Xiaolin versus Bacon Jack matchup, because we talked about the NZNR versus Bacon Jack matchup, and what I noted about that matchup was that NZNR was able and willing to take on Bacon Jack in those 1v1s and even overpower them in a few of them. He got a couple kills into Bacon Jack. They weren't super consistent, but the other ones that he didn't get a kill on, Bacon Jack left with the tail between his legs. So actually NZNR on a number of occasions was able to beat out Bacon Jack despite not killing him.
I was really not seeing Bacon Jack go off the same way he normally does. It's something Blank were able to do.
He had moments, right?
Yeah,
he had moments and he
did.
didn't.
But it was something Blank were able to do in their series against Flash Wolves, which is the other, I would say, equally close kind of series, given that it was closer across the whole series. And a lot of it was the fact that Eat You Up is arguably an equally good tracer to Bacon Jack. Maybe only slightly, I don't want to say worse, but like, because it makes it sound way too negative, but, you know, is a really, really hot contender to him. And Bacon Jack was not getting that same free reign.
I think that's the thing that was really interesting about the way Fireball played, because they really utilized Inzidina to his maximum potential. A lot of those fights were carried by Inzidina. Now we're moving into this match. Can Xiaolin do the same thing? Because one thing I noticed about Hong Kong Attitude in a couple of their previous series, particularly against Blank and also AHQ, was Xiaolin, kind of, at least for me, wasn't able to pick up his own weight, and K4 was carrying a lot of the weight for the team.
Yeah, and that's a completely fair assessment as well. But I mean, it's a new night. It's a different time.
It's a new attitude.
Yeah, a whole new Hong Kong attitude, you know. Less Hong, more Kong. But I don't know. I don't quite know what I was going there. But I mean, you know, it's a new dawn, it's a new day, I suppose. You know, sure, that was in the past, but we have also seen Xiaolin perform well. So let's just go ahead and give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's say, look, what does it look like if Xiaolin and K4 are both performing great? Well, does that look like a Hong Kong attitude win? I honestly think maybe.
Well, it looks like the Hong Kong Attitude that beat both AHQ and Blank, and I think the victory against Blank was pretty good. The victory against AHQ looked very hard. The Blank one wasn't realistically any easier, but Hong Kong Attitude pulled it through. So I actually think the expected result for me would be that Hong Kong Attitude takes a map here as a minimum, even if they lose. But realistically, it wouldn't be out of the question for this to go to a map 5 and Hong Kong Attitude just managed to take it out. And they are going to get the first map pick as well, which is going to be Lijiang Tower.
So this is the second team that has taken Flash Wolves to Lijiang Tower. This is interesting because I've always felt that Lijiang Tower, especially maps like Gardens and Night Markets, are great places for Bacon Jack to totally go off. So this to me is a kind of confidence that they feel they can shut him down adequately. Yeah. And also Blank took Flash Wolves to here as well. So Hong Kong Attitude are looking to be the third team to kind of do that to Bacon Jack. And I feel like a lot of this is kind of a spin out from that Blank series. They did demonstrate how you can kind of limit Bacon Jack's effectiveness, specifically on Lijiang Tower. So other teams have learned from that and are going specifically to Lijiang Tower so that they can do the same.
I think so as well. I think teams are definitely getting more confident on this. The other map that I would say Flash Wolves have played more often in the more recent times would be Oasis, and teams aren't nearly as willing to go to that. They're far more willing to play Lijiang Tower, which I'm quite enjoying as well. Yeah. Something that Flash Wolves are bringing back is Zonda on the Pharah, and that had somewhat of a mixed success. I feel like he did an okay job, but actually it wasn't really dominant. There was still a lot of Zhongyi and Bacon Jack pulling the majority of the weight, and actually Zonda had a couple mishaps on there, which was less about him and more about the fact that Inzidina managed to pick him up during a couple of crucial moments. So it wasn't spectacular out of Zonda, and maybe he goes back on the Soldier for
that. And the thing is, part of what made it work as well in that particular match was just the fact that he was a Pharah. It was less to do with how well he was executing it, and it was more, you know, the moment there is a Pharah, you do have to play a certain way, and it was a way that made it quite difficult for Fireball to execute. But it's not like Zonda was really having much of an impact himself. He wasn't getting much chip damage, wasn't really forcing positioning too hard. Fireball did also react well, so I do completely agree with that. I don't know if I necessarily want to see a Pharah out of Zonda here, but it is a possibility they're open to.
The reason I don't think we will is because I expect Hong Kong Attitude to play Soldier right away on the Gardens. I expect K4 to just jump straight on that. The only place I expect K4 to play the Genji is Control Center, and even then, maybe not, because right now K4 is playing a lot of Soldier across the board.
Yeah, you're actually completely right there. And Soldier Tracer, it's as you like to call it, long gun and short gun, is very effective right now.
Exactly. You get every single variation of gun. The only one you're missing is a medium gun, and maybe that's actually going to come out of Zhongyi. So, you know,
new DPS hero confirmed, medium gun.
That's what Doomfist has. He's got a medium gun.
Yeah, he's got a medium gun that shoots fists. That would be such a twist, eh? That would
tactical fist activated.
That would anger so many people.
All right, here we go. Opening skirmished out, and it's actually going to be K4. He does go on the Genji for Control Center like I predicted. Zonda, he's going to go onto the Soldier instead.
And they're both moving around for a flank on the backside, but unfortunately while they're busy doing that, their tanks get completely routed because the DPS was not present in the fight. Hong Kong Attitude 110% punished for that extremely greedy flank. The rest of the team did not play to set it up. I don't know what they were trying to do there, but they totally misfired.
And this is different coming out of Flash Wolves. What you expect out of Flash Wolves on control centers, what you saw them use against Fireball. And they're not doing that at all. They're playing open space, Zonda's onto the Soldier instead of the Genji. This is a little bit different. They've adapted.
They have. The cap hasn't actually gone through just yet. It finally gets over the line there. So Hong Kong Attitude did kind of draw that one out despite a really crippling loss early. So they have bought themselves some time, I suppose, but more in that they've denied Flash Wolves some time, I guess. It's still a hard one to attack onto.
And Flash Wolves are happy to just take a little bit of progress here. And Hong Kong Attitude playing a bit of catch-up. Maybe they're going to get Shailin's Pulse Bomb here. That's going to be a big opening for them. Get it onto the back line, get a couple supports out of the way. Zonda's going to use Attack Visor, I believe.
Yeah, that's really the big tool they have in the back pocket. And already Shailin and K4 are having a bit of a hard time committing. Shailin wide on the Pulse Bomb, and everyone's in Zonda's side. Actually, good blocking out here by Jin Kao is a great way for them to really cut that one out of the picture. And now Zonda is going to have to kind of be forced to wrap around and rejoin the team. But they forced Jin Kao's mech as well, so they are still going to be able to hold this one out. Really, both teams jostled and neither were able to commit.
It's a technical victory for Flash Wolves. Both teams used an ultimate. Flash Wolves didn't really get a kill out of that, but they keep the progress going. They keep control of the point itself, and that's enough of a victory that Flash Wolves can push ahead and get small advantages. Hong Kong Attitude do now scrape ahead just in the terms of ultimate, so this is going to be their fight.
Yeah, I was going to say, that is the one good thing they've got out of this, but K4 is having a hard time getting in. Well-timed self-destruct, and then forced to deflect as well. He gets nothing, gets killed by Sinkler as well. Insult to injury, and unfortunately, out of Mango Jai here, this Transcendence isn't going to be able to do much for Hong Kong Attitude. They're not actually converting up any kills here. I'm not sure what's going wrong, but neither DPS has found anything this game.
It's really unfortunate. At this sort of stage, I think K4 is being shut down a number of times as well. Maybe you try and match Zonda on that Soldier. That's an option K4 has. He's used the ultimate already. Didn't get him a lot of success out of that. You got a fresh hero here. You have the ability to swap. He's not going to go that way. They're going to try and make this Genji Tracer work, but they are running out of time. 90% for Flash Wolves.
Yeah, this is, funny enough, this is currently more one-sided than this exact same map against Fireball. For starters,
Very
starters, Fireball won the opening skirmish. Pulse Bomb out for Bacon Jack. Oh, dear.
Really?
CQB
That wasn't a stick.
He backed up into that. It's terrible. And now Jongi able to take out Mango Jai. It has already gone pear-shaped for Hong Kong Attitude. The rest is just a formality.
Well, Zonda did go down, so it's a bright beacon of hope that maybe Hong Kong Attitude can cling on to, but K4 is not long for this world either. Shailin goes down. That's all your DPS is gone, unfortunately.
Yeah, Jin Kao's forced off the point. Ating had to retreat to rejoin his healers, so he will be able to jump on to force overtime, but the DPS hasn't even respawned, let alone started to get close to the fight again, so it's not really stalling for time for them to rejoin, it's just stalling for time for its own sake, and Hong Kong Attitude 100-0.
I think that's surprising because that was the result you may expect Fireball to get against Flash Wolves, and the Flash Wolves Fireball result is what you would expect out of Hong Kong Attitude. So they've done a bit of a reverse role swap here, and it's interesting that Fireball did so well. I think Fireball played their time a lot better. Hong Kong Attitude, you can see the patience there. They're waiting a lot longer. They're using a lot more time to sort of gather themselves, pick the moments. But as they're doing that, Flash Wolves happy to rack up that percentage. And before you know it, you're up to 90%. Then you're into the overtime. And Hong Kong Attitude haven't done enough.
It was just unfortunate. Honestly, they're swapping over now to the Soldier Tracer. I hope that this does actually go a bit better. I do expect it to, granted. But yeah,
Zonda smartly staying on Soldier. Yeah. He knows K4 is going to go Soldier. No point bringing out the Pharah here.
Yeah, something has to change for Hong Kong Attitude here, and we'll see how they're able to actually adapt on this one. Now, a good dive in from Flash Wolves, forcing Hong Kong Attitude back over the bridge, but they are able to safely retreat. No one goes down. This just gives Flash Wolves the ground and Hong Kong Attitude the opportunity to rejoin. They need to be careful here in this retreat. They're not properly committing to the retreat and letting themselves get topped off. They're constantly trying to go back in to restart the fight, but they're not waiting long enough beforehand. They get punished for it. Flash Wolves clean it up. Points open, and they're not even going onto it just yet. Now they're going to be able to get the cap.
That's the thing. Flash Wolves won the fight before anyone died. You actually look at the position here. Hong Kong Attitude, they barely made it across the bridge, and then they backed out. Their main tanker, Ting, backing out. He's still on the front lines. He gets killed, and suddenly Flash Wolves is like, all right, well, that gives us the opportunity. Now we're going to get the second kill onto Mango Jai as well. Suddenly, it all goes pear-shaped. Hong Kong Attitude falling apart, and they're not even really losing members. They're just losing the ground.
Yeah, they're really struggling to find openings here. They're not really able to convert any kills either. I mean, even when they're landing shots, Flash Wolves are able to retreat successfully. Hong Kong Attitude aren't closing things out. The Pulse Bomb does just barely go wide, but it separates a Ting from the rest of his team.
Here's the commit.
Yeah, this is, it's kind of a forced commit out of Hong Kong Attitude, and they are finally going to get some kills up as they catch K-Momo. But really, that's only one member. Zonda is still largely safe. The trade was...
I would look to Visor.
Yeah, I would too, but he's already getting forced off to the side. Xiaolin was taken out as well. They're actually struggling for manpower on this one. Now they're going to commit with the Visor and Transcendence, but Flash Wolves are able to commit their own anyway. And this is just kind of getting protracted. No one's died on either side, and the cap is still over there for Flash Wolves, who still have more resources in the back pocket now as they convert onto a Ting. Good trade back onto Bacon Jack, but Jin Kao is in trouble, loses the mech. Xiaolin forced out, gets killed as well, and Flash Wolves are still going to win the fight.
Again, too patient by Hong Kong Attitude. They're not realizing the amount of time they're playing with here. Actually, Flash Wolves didn't have the support ultimates for a good amount of portion of time. They got the support ultimates. The Transcendence came in time as a response for the Tactical Visor, which K4 kind of held on to for quite a long time as well. And then suddenly Realman went with the Sound Barrier. And you're right, terrible, because Hong Kong Attitude, they had a couple moments there, took a little bit too long, pushed back, got to go for the respawns. Like I said, for Control Center, suddenly you hit 90%, then you're in the overtime.
This is just looking super rough. I mean, Hong Kong Attitude just aren't getting kills. That's all it's coming down to. And I'm not even sure why. I mean,
well, they're getting 1 or 2 picks, but Flash Wolves always get more.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, they're not even a bad team. It is just like they're not quite. They're just getting out-aimed, it feels. And now I'm finally committing to the point, but Bacon Jack is going to be around the backside. Zonda has the Tactical Visor to commit. Jin Kao is at least able to open up and Ting able to cut out Zonda. Here we go. At last, Hong Kong Attitude looking a bit like themselves, getting some kills through. Will just barely get the cap through as well, catching Sinclair in the back end as Realman takes a dive. And they are going to win a fight at long last, but my goodness, it has taken them so long.
And they need a lot of time to now hold on to this. They started fresh from 0%. K4 has attack visor. That's all they got. What they got to play with is good because there's no support out of Flash Wolves just yet, but they got to pull the trigger quickly. That's been the biggest problem with Hong Kong Attitude. Too much respect for Flash Wolves Force, not enough aggressiveness to actually get the fight started.
Jongi's so quick on the aggressive and Zonda with the follow-up. They do get the trades. That was very important, catching Jongi as well. They do lose Mango.
Oh, good boop.
That boop has sealed it now for Flash Wolves, just as Hong Kong Attitude started swinging back, because now it is the Bacon Jack show. No one is really there to stop him up. All they need to do is close out and Ting. Actually, good sound barrier out of Hong Kong Attitude to buy more time, but it's only time being bought. Flash Wolves are able to commit their own. They're the ones on this point, and actually, it's Hong Kong Attitude, even with these respawns, who are going to have to regroup and aggress onto the more entrenched Flash Wolves, who may just get a cap through. Anyway, Hong Kong Attitude once again have failed to get the kills over the line, only just getting Sinclair in this one, but Zonda and Bacon Jack keeping it on lockdown. No one can seem to get past these two with the oppressive DPS. Barely catching the overtime there is Hong Kong Attitude, but I feel like this is already all
Yeah, they need to get kills. Like, you can stall for a very long time. A Ting gets there at the end, and the difficult thing to deal with here is the order that they died in was unfortunate for Hong Kong Attitude. K4 is just coming back now, but a Ting's already dead. So you never have this connect with your DPSs or with your tanks. Always someone's staggered. It's going to be over very soon.
And right now is very soon. That was all trickle for Hong Kong Attitude. Now, yeah, sure, you don't just give it up just because you haven't got it yet. You know, if you can get overtime, yeah, sure, keep doing that. That makes total sense. But they weren't actually getting kills anyway. It didn't end up having an effect. If they were able to get into that overtime, maybe get some kills, that was really rough.
I would like to say for Hong Kong Attitude, they need to give a little bit less respect to Flash Wolves. They're playing in a sort of way where I feel like, I don't want to use the term scared, but they are certainly intimidated by the Flash Wolves.
Yeah.
And you need to be able to play like you can beat them. You've already been blanked, something no team outside the top 3 has done. You've already been AHQ,
twice.
Who are also one of the best teams in the competition. You didn't act like those two teams are scary then. You don't need to act like Flash Wolves are intimidating now.
There is this real unwillingness to follow up on kills, to actually go for it. Now, here is that willingness at long last. This is what we expect out of Hong Kong Attitude as they go deep, find Sinclair, close out Realman. There are no healers now for Flash Wolves, and the rest are set to get routed. They have to cede the ground, and that means Hong Kong Attitude will get a cap.
K4 accessed the backline so cleanly there as well. Had a little bit of help on the side from the rest of his members, and Flash Wolves, no response. They just had to pull out their members. The good news for them is they got out cleanly. They only lost a couple dudes, but they do get a full respawn. They do get a full reset. and not a lot of ultimates on either side, so a neutral fight to start things off in the second engagement.
Yeah, and that really means it could go either way. I feel Flash Wolves are slightly favored just because Hong Kong Attitude have struggled to close out, but again, catching Sinclair, that's a bit of a different story.
That's
trade
a
back
better
onto
trade,
K4, but Realman again, double healers out for a tank and a DPS, but that gives Bacon Jack the room he needs. He's the one on the point. Hong Kong Attitude aren't. They're all just trickling on. Finally, Shaolin able to close that one out. This is still potentially anyone's fight. Good. Pulse Bomb actually stops up K-Momo. That should be Hong Kong Attitude holding us down a little bit longer. Even as Jongi's on the point, he doesn't really have much support, and members of Hong Kong Attitude can rejoin. Not if CQB and Shaolin are getting caught out like this. Here we go. K4 cleaning up the healers who are trying to rejoin the fight. Now Jongi is properly isolated. Will seek to buy more time with this Primal Rage and catches K4. Oh, hold on a second now. Are Zonda and Bacon Jack going to do this with 1 tank and 2 DPS?
It's absolutely possible because Hong Kong Attitude now slowing down the kills department. They were doing so well when K4 is alive, but as soon as K4 goes down, suddenly you're not getting the kills. At least the cap hasn't gone over. That's something Hong Kong Attitude can work with. Oh. Zonda commits a tactical visor, and
they
now
weren't expecting
K4 goes in.
They weren't expecting that at all, and Zonda got taken out by a Ting. Actually, they do catch out K4. I'll be honest, this is now the inverse of what we saw last map, where it's just this long, protracted fight, but it's favoring Hong Kong Attitude because the cap hasn't even come through for Flash Wolves. And now Flash Wolves are at long last going to be forced to back off Hong Kong Attitude, hold it, get to regroup, recharge some ultimates, and wipe the sweat off their brow.
And actually, Flash Wolves committed a lot to that fight, so you're right. It is just like what Flash Wolves did to Hong Kong Attitude on Gardens. Hong Kong Attitude got to feel pretty good about this situation. Way ahead in terms of progress, way ahead in terms of ultimates, and you get the opening pick for the next fight, and you're about to hit that 90% mark. So Flash Wolves, they barely got time to regroup.
They've got all the tools, man. They've got the Transcendence, they've got the Self-Destruct, and they can stall out with a Ting as well. They've got it all. The only thing they don't have is DPS ultimates, but they're already pressuring out Flash Wolves, making it hard for them to get to the point. They don't even touch it. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Hong Kong Attitude strike back hard.
100-0. Now that is a competitive game for Hong Kong Attitude. I mean, look, Flash Wolves have had 100-0 against Hong Kong Attitude already. Them striking back with one rather, sends a really strong message against the Flash Wolves. Hong Kong Attitude, look, the first 2 rounds, the first 2 stages of Lijiang, that was a warm-up. Now the game starts.
And I think they've learned something there. Look, it's not that they were diving Sinclair and killing him, therefore Flash Wolves crumbled, but they had confidence. They had the confidence to dive Sinclair. It doesn't have to be Sinclair you dive. Whoever it is, play with confidence, exactly like you said. And I want to see that confidence shine now as we return to Gardens.
They just need to know that they are good enough to beat the Flash Wolves. If you can beat Blank, you can beat HQ, then why not Flash Wolves 2? Add it onto that list. I know you want to cross that name off.
You're right, it's the Rogues Gallery, as it were. Already looking a little better on the opening skirmish. Bacon Jack trying to aggress around the side isn't going to quite go so unanswered. They are struggling to get their own return damage, but oh, Zonda, there we go, that's the one they needed. They've found it. Bacon Jack can still turn this one around for them, so they aren't out of the woods just yet as Flash Wolves dive for the point itself. Force Hong Kong Attitude to cover it, but the other half of Flash Wolves is going to retreat over the bridge. Hong Kong Attitude have been able to jostle for the ground and will be able to get themselves the cap.
Yeah, very strong opening and a far cry from what we just saw the last time we were on Gardens. And in fact, Flash Wolves don't actually let it go too easy. Bacon Jack will try and stall, and you're right, he pays for it with his life. And it might not be over yet because Hong Kong Attitude are still looking for kills, and Flash Wolves haven't actually pulled out.
That was terrible. They half committed because Bacon Jack was deep. K4 unfortunately goes a little bit too far himself in trying to make that route happen, as does Shaolin. Oh, that could be very, very bad, actually. That was very unfortunate because Flash Wolves had just made a mistake. Hong Kong Attitude then matched it with their own mistake of overextending, but
we can do what you can do.
They're keeping K-Momo at bay, and they're going to pop. Oh, barely able to get the clutch heal in. Now they're going to try and commit as Bacon Jack is around the backside, but Hong Kong Attitude's DPS has respawned. Bacon Jack is isolated. Good ult from a Ting. K4 able to keep this one in lockdown. They do have to commit the resources to it, but they're happy to take that, keep the fight in their favor.
And they get a lot of kills off the back of this. And Hong Kong Attitude the entire time, they get the progress racking up. And Flash Wolves, it's not like they're trying to give this up. They're still committing ultimates. Sound Barrier was used into that last fight, but Hong Kong Attitude, they still managed to clean it up. We're now into the 50% plus. Before you know it, we're going to hit 90 again. And Flash Wolves, they got to be careful.
Resources are all there for Hong Kong Attitude. They had to commit their ultimates because of the fight before that when Self-Destruct is huge.
That's got to hurt.
Yeah, K-Momo was able to stick clear because of that wall, but the rest of the team was actually not followed up yet because they were waiting for K-Momo to make the ground for them. That was such a great cutoff by Jin Kao. One ultimate for another 15%. but the ultimates are still there for Flash Wolves.
Yeah, that's the only thing Flash Wolves really take away from this is while you lose the time, you gain the ultimate advantage. The economy is going strong on the Flash Wolves side of the field. Hong Kong Attitude, on the other hand, they got to make a lot of use out of this one sound barrier. They got to live.
Oh dear, Shylin's already down. Bacon Jack has used the ultimate, but there's still so many more for Flash Wolves.
Here comes Zonda
opening up. What will he find? Doesn't actually find much at all. In fact, this is a very interesting nano boost out of Mango Jai. I think he's dropped that onto a Ting. Zonda's
1v1,
yeah,
here we
1v1.
go.
He does win it, and that is important. A Ting trades one back. I don't think it's really enough for Hong Kong Attitude, but they are up to 99%. A Ting wants to commit to this one. They're already in a numbers disadvantage. I don't know how much I like this. They could have opted to back off and actually save those ultimates, given that they have time for another fight, and now they are going to pull out anyway, but I can understand why, but I don't think it was necessary.
I think Hong Kong Attitude need to bleed ultimates out of Flash Wolves here. They can actually try and extend this fight for a long time, but their goal should be to pull the ultimates out. They're actually going to go for the reset. That's actually a very good option as well. They don't have to really pull too much here. They don't want to feed too many ultimates on the Flash Wolves side. Progress, though, is absolutely looking fantastic for Hong Kong Attitude, and that was not something they had the last time we saw them on Gardens. This has been a total flip.
Yeah, they are just only in need of winning one fight, is what I'm trying to say. And look, Flash Wolves, they have the ultimates now, but there's plenty of time for Hong Kong Attitude to bleed them out. And here's going to be the first aggression. They could actually just do it right here, right now anyway, if they do get the kills or the picks. Pick your one. If they get them, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, pick your pills in here because Hong Kong Attitude waiting for ultimate still. I feel like this is the overpatience coming in.
Aggressive fight by Flash Wolves, and it does pay off. K4 got bumped in that, I believe.
Zonda
That's a
shut
good
down.
trade back, though. They seem like they want to commit, even though they lack the healers. I don't think they need to. Good job holding on to the ultimates. And Flash Wolves, because they went for such a hard commit, did actually use a lot of ultimates in that one. So Hong Kong Attitude may have an opportunity to strike back here with this nanovisor.
Absolutely, and Realment with the sound barrier will be the protection for Flash Wolves, and maybe if Bacon Jack gets a pick on the side of the Pulse Bomb, that will swing the fight back in Flash Wolves' favor. In fact, if Flash Wolves can win one more fight, they actually threaten to take this entire game away from Hong Kong Attitude. We're going to hit that 80 to 90% mark, and suddenly the tables turn for Hong Kong Attitude. They're on the back foot again. They got to make this fight count. This is going to be the important one.
Let's see how they go. Again, very aggressive defense to try and cut off a Ting. Nearly works, doesn't quite close out.
Matrix.
This is getting blocked up though. Oh, he's bumped off. That is a terrible way to start the fight now as Shylin's Pulse Bomb goes wide. Everyone is low. Sound barrier last ditch to save them. Hong Kong Attitude need to scatter and leave, and they may have another chance.
They got 15 seconds essentially to get this done. Sinclair's still holding on to Transcendence, so the options look a little bit scarce. Hong Kong Attitude committed so much to that fight, and they knew the importance of it, but so did Jongi. He knew which target he wanted, and that target was K4. Bumped him off the side. 2 ultimates committed.
There we go.
See you later.
A Ting is at least going to buy them overtime, but he may pay for it with his life. Oh, he's getting good aggression onto Bacon Jack. He hasn't died yet. That's important. The team can regroup. Pulse Bomb goes wide. That is huge. Sinclair forced out with the ultimate. They do catch Mango Giant. No response
Nice
for
hit.
Hong Kong Attitude. They need to get some. They need to get them now. Bacon Jack is unanswered. Who is even shooting at him? How has he lost no health? They finally answered back onto Zonda, but it is far too late. There are not enough members here for Hong Kong Attitude, it seems, and they would have to fight through a self-destruct as well. Jin Kao loses the mech. No more tanks. Mango Jai only just rejoined the fight. K4 is dead. There is no target for the nano boost that is only just about to become available anyway. Overtime disappears. Flash Wolves are going to close it out, and Hong Kong Attitude, they kind of fell back into what cost them the first 2 maps in that they did not close out the kills, and they fell complete prey to a very aggressive defense from Flash Wolves.
Yeah, far too patient there. You know, they lost. I was going to say they lost respect. No, in fact, they gained the respect back, and that's half the problem here. This should be a boop kill. Actually gets the kill onto K4 during a nano boost.
I hate seeing that.
That's actually, you know what that is? That's actually the second time K4 would have died because he got booped off already by Jongi that we saw.
Into the mysterious bottomless pond.
And then the earliest part, he got booped off by a Realment. So the guy can't catch a break. He really can't.
Yeah, he can.
But again, the real big thing that Hong Kong Attitude there is you see them, they get 99%. Flash Wolves flip it over. That's cool. They understand. Look, we've got 99 to 100 seconds here to get back in to really retake control of the game, maybe cap it out and win the stage. But a little bit too hesitant. They're saying, look, we got a lot of time here. Just play it patiently. Play it and wait. They had how many fights? About 3. I can probably count 3 fights within 100%. That's not enough. You can squeeze at least 4 in there, maybe even a 5th one if you're quick, and that's what they should have gone for.
And the truth is they didn't do themselves any favors. They could have given up the cap and held on to ultimates. The first fight immediately off the back of that would have favored them because they would have had ultimate advantage. They didn't. Then Flash Wolves had ultimate advantage. They still had time to flip the tables with that, draw ultimates out of Flash Wolves in the next fight, then go in on an even playing field, then try and go in with ultimate advantage, but they didn't even do that either. Because Flash Wolves, with that little bit of an advantage of ultimates they had because of that one fight when they capped the point, because Hong Kong Attitude used up theirs, Flash Wolves were able to go aggressive, they got a ton of mileage out of their ultimates, and they took Hong Kong Attitude by surprise 3 times in a row. Honestly, it's the old saying of shame on me if you fool me twice, but what happens if you get fooled 3 times? Like, by that point, you're just an idiot.
You know, credit where credit is due. Hong Kong Attitude did get more out of this map than Fireball did because they actually won one of the stages.
Yes.
Not only that, but on the second Gardens, they nearly got 100-0 again. They got 99-0 at the start, and you actually saw the play of the game. Realman bumped off K4 while he was nanoed as a soldier.
Yeah, and he had just broken past K-Momo.
And that's good. He did that, but actually Hong Kong Attitude still won that fight because they never lost that 99%. They were at 30-something% there. They managed to get to 99, so they still won the fight. The biggest kill was from Zhongyi. That was a game-winning play. When Zhongyi knocked off K4 during the nano visor, that's what won them the game because that was the most important fight for Hong Kong Attitude. That was a must-win fight.
And that was the only resource they had for that fight.
That was their biggest resource. That was their biggest win condition. Without that, Hong Kong Attitude was stuck there. Nothing else. You even see the last-ditch effort from the sound barrier as well. We're going to go into a replay, actually.
So this is the opening skirmish.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
you see this from top down as well.
Yeah, I want to point out the difference in positioning because on that first... So this was the very first time that these teams met on Gardens. And you can see how timid Hong Kong Attitude are. There isn't even anyone from Flash Wolves in there. Like, Zhongyi dove in, sure, then he dove back out, and Hong Kong Attitude backed off anyway. And then the timidness started costing them, because you can't just heal up that many people all at once, and this just opens the door for Flash Wolves to dive even further. So Hong Kong Attitude seeded ground they didn't need to seed. They over-respected Flash Wolves. They didn't do this on the second Gardens, and I do hope we get to see that, but you see exactly what went wrong there.
And that's kind of what I said as well in relation to that specific clip is Flash Wolves didn't have to get a single kill, and without even getting a kill, they actually won that cap. They won that point in that initial fight, getting 0 kills. All they did was force Hong Kong Attitude back, make them fall towards their own base, and suddenly you're gone.
And then they still got kills because they opted to dive, and Hong Kong Attitude, after backing up, actually hadn't really backed up safely.
And it's actually coming down to the tanks a little bit because I'm trying to understand what happened there, which is essentially you had a Ting and Bacon Jack on the back flanking side, and then on the bridge you had K-Momo plus supports plus K4. Now K-Momo fell back and maybe he took too much damage. The supports weren't even on the bridge, they were hanging at the health pack. K-Momo goes back. A Ting and Bacon Jack, a Ting and Shailin lose their duel against whoever else was there as well. They then fall back and suddenly it all goes pear-shaped.
Yeah, here we go.
This is the difference.
So this was the second one, and you can see the difference, right? Similar positioning out of both teams. Here's the dive in from Zhongyi. This time, Hong Kong Attitude, they back up a little to give themselves space. But first of all, Shailin is on the far side contesting. So
Zonda caught out. That's big.
Yeah, and that was a lot of it, right? Zonda was playing for the point itself, whereas K4 was, you can see, tucked away more safely with his team. They didn't just straight up seed the ground. And then they were able to go on the aggressive. And this is just a confident Hong Kong Attitude, whereas the first one was a timid Hong Kong Attitude. That is all the difference.
And the problem is, they carried this momentum through for a very long time and got it to 99%, and then that timid Hong Kong Attitude came out again. It's almost like Hong Kong Attitude has multiple personalities here, because you get one version where they're super confident against Flash Wolves and another version where they're like, I'm not too sure, I don't really want to pull the trigger.
There's the Hong and the Kong.
Which attitude will come out?
Is the Hong attitude or the Kong attitude?
I don't know which is the one you want to see and which is one that you don't, but
it's like have you seen
ladies, there's something for everybody.
It's like in Spaceballs, it's like when he's talking about the Schwartz, like, yeah, there's 2 sides to the Schwartz, the upside and the downside. He got the upside, I got the downside. That's what that's like, you know. That's the Hong, this is the Kong.
I do like the play on the second Gardens, because you're right, they got jumped in by Zhongyi. They didn't just back out. They gave a little space out of respect, but it was just enough respect to say, actually, we can get the counter frag here. And they got the counter frag with the Zonda, who, as you pointed out, played on the point. And he didn't need to do that. He was trying to position to get good sight lines. And actually, as soon as the Ting noticed that, he jumped on. K4 cleaned up the kills. Now we're going to Eichenwalde.
Yeah, guess where we're going. This is interesting. So this is obviously Flash Wolves' prepped pick for this week. So, cool, man. I'm happy. I don't get to see Eichenwalde much.
They said they prepped this for Fireball, and now it kind of turns out, hey, it was good enough versus them, and Fireball did pretty good versus us. Now we bring it against Hong Kong Attitude as well and see what happens in this matchup.
This pick is, all right. And that's the entire approach. They're like, it worked. Like, all right, yeah,
Well, here's the thing.
try it again.
Does it work twice in a row? Because Hong Kong Attitude,
They have
you
got to
hope
see what
they
went wrong.
saw that. You hope they saw that, because if they did see that, they got something they can prepare against Flash Wolves now moving into Eichenwalde. Now, the thing for Flash Wolves is, do you do the same defense again? Do you pull out the same strat, or do you not? Because you are also expecting that Hong Kong Attitude know you're going to do that.
Yeah, there's going to be a few kind of layers going on to this one. It's always kind of
real meta.
Yeah. Ooh, like, but
So here's an ultimate. You press your Q and you change the hero pick of someone else on the other team. Just that's an ultimate. Jeff, write that one down.
Completely swapped over. Like it wouldn't be too bad if when it changes you, it's within the same class and you retain your ultimate charge, but it could still be pretty nuts.
It'll be pretty nasty. Like you just change onto something really ridiculous. Like, I don't need Torbjorn right now. I don't even have a turret. I got a molten core. What's going on?
Yeah. What is?
I'm the main tank. This can't be happening. Like,
It'd be like that film, The Hot Chick.
I don't know if I've seen that.
Rob Schneider wakes up as Torbjorn.
Oh my god. Oh yes, no.
For those
I
who've
do know.
seen that episode of South Park.
I do. Yeah, I do know the one you're talking about here. So couple
you hear it
questions.
confirmed, Rob Schneider.
Something else that's confirmed is Torbjorn, Orisa, and I believe Flash was defending. It was their pick, and they usually pick to defend first anyway, so this makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
It's
I
a
don't
good
really have
test.
anything to add to that. I mean, you're
Well,
right.
it's a
This
good
is
test because
unsurprising.
Hong Kong Attitude,
Yeah.
they've seen this. They've seen what Fireball did. Fireball weren't successful. In fact, they got flattened. So what's Hong Kong Attitude going to do now? Is it going to be the Hong Attitude or the Kong Attitude?
Yeah, and I tell you what, they've also seen what Detonator did when they pulled this out against Blank. So maybe that's what they opted to pull out. And
Different map, but also, yeah,
and
same,
you'd be well
same method.
within your right to pick, having predicted this, and take something a little bit more off the beaten track, rather than going standard out the gate and then having to change later. But they are going to start standard out the gate. Maybe it'll work.
Actually, this is kind of weird, but I actually saw someone on Hong Kong Attitude just hover over Bastion.
Yeah.
And I kind of considered that for a second. It gave me a bit of a shower thought. What if? But it's not going to be today.
Yeah, you're going to have to get out of the shower. But we'll
I
see
like
how
the
they
water.
go.
I like
Already
the water.
wrapping around the side, not taking as much poke damage as Fireball did, getting into the back side of this one. Shaolin finally taking some poke damage as he kind of comes face to face with Bacon Jack.
I like the flank,
Yeah.
actually.
I do indeed, but they're setting up for this one nicely, and here is going to be their moment to start going here as K4
Oh,
gets
nice.
aggressive. Yeah, that's how you do it. You force it onto off the high ground. This turret is now largely a non-factor. Does still catch K4. They didn't quite shut it down quickly enough because of the positioning of that shield, but they do finally close it out before anyone has died. They're getting a little bit too much damage put onto them though, and they aren't quite able to pull out effectively because of how deep they are in. So Flash Wolves do hold on, but that was a good setup by Hong Kong Attitude.
You can tell they got the right idea because much like a battle tank, the weakest position is actually right at the back, and that's exactly where K4 and Shailin hit. They hit it as a two-man squad, got the sticky bombs, went for the track ties and tried to blow it up, except it just didn't work this time around. They're going to have another attempt, and for Hong Kong Attitude, or rather for Flash Wolves, they got to make sure they can defend the back line properly.
So here's exactly what I said. I would have almost preferred they take this out the gate if this is their answer to this comp, because now what they've actually done is lost time by waiting and playing standard and scoping out like, oh yes, they are actually playing the strategy they've played every single time we've gone to this map. They didn't need to do that.
Yeah.
And now Bacon Jack is doing the exact same thing he did to Fireball, where he hides in this room specifically.
Well, maybe he
Hong
can
Kong
get
Attitude
caught
don't
out.
have that
Actually, something interesting here is Flash Wolves are playing slightly forward. I know Orisa can just replace the shield anyway, but it does give Hong Kong Attitude a little bit of room.
No one seems to be reacting to Bacon Jack here. I mean, Shaolin has finally kind of turned around, but the sticky has managed to go out. Mango Jai is getting aggressed upon. At least they're on the point getting aggressive, but if Bacon Jack continues to get free reign and they don't shut down Zonda, it's not going to mean anything. Nanovitus comes out now.
Where's
as
the hook?
sound barrier has ended. Yeah, where is the hook? It needs to
On
shut
cooldown.
someone down. They haven't really cut the DPS out.
There
Luckily,
it
Zonda
is.
doesn't get much. There we go. Finally able to close it out. They do still have just enough left in this fight to start getting aggressive and trying to close out the point itself, and that's how you do it, boys. They take out the bongo
Do you know
drum
what
at the
that
same
was?
time. That was a really good charge.
He
That
charged the Anna, he charged Sinclair into the
bongo drum, yeah.
and it killed both. That's amazing.
That was beautiful. And look, that was just Hong Kong Attitude. They were able to set that one up well enough. Sure, they didn't quite answer Bacon Jack, but they absorbed the few ultimates Flash Wolves actually had to use. That was very well done. And then they still had enough left to go on to close it out. Payload underway. Let's see what they can do
All right,
next.
let's go to the time warp because I want to give you a little bit of a history lesson. Now, let's go back to Fireball versus Flash Wolves a little bit because back then you said Bacon Jack came came in, and I actually point out the entire 5-0 squad got a little bit jolted by that. They all responded, and they all responded quite panicked. This time around, Hong Kong Attitude, you noticed they didn't respond. You said, why didn't they respond? But actually, I think that was the right call because they were focused on actually getting the Orisa down, getting the turret down, and getting the front line down. If they turned around for Bacon Jack, they weren't going to get that done.
Good catch onto Sinclair does give them a little bit of space here so that Shiloh can start getting aggressive on this high ground. They can force out Zonda and Bacon Jack a little bit. Even not getting the kills is fine because they get mobility for the cart and they kind of break the positioning from Flash Wolves who now have to reset up for it.
There it is.
That's trades, boys.
Decent trade. I'll take Zonda down.
That's Jin count for Zonda, sure. And they're still able to contest this upper ground here. So they're still able to keep the payload rolling. That's all they really want to do here. And it is working. It's still not really being contested, ideally. Now finally Flash Wolves can contest it. But look at how far it's been able to move so far. Absolutely.
And both teams have had to change up their lineup slightly here as well. Hong Kong Attitude now, their third lineup of the game. Flash Wolves playing their second. The cards is definitely a little bit of a standstill, so Flash was buying a lot of decent time here. K4 dying at the end of that was not what they wanted. Zonda dies again quickly. What do Hong Kong do this time?
Shiloh, ooh, he is able to scrape out from that one, trying to rejoin his healers, and it is going to work. Yeah, both DPSs. This is the window now for Hong Kong Attitude, and they look to go on the aggressive. Zonda will be able to rejoin, but oh, good catch. Realman totally isolated, training down K-Momo. He will be able to commit the self-destruct, but they catch the pilot. The self-destruct finds nothing because everyone hides around the payload.
Self-sacrifice.
Yeah, self-sacrifice, but they should be able to get a cap off this. There may be some trickles out from Flash Wolves, but I feel like they should know better than to really pile onto this one because it's a really hard ask.
Well, they don't know better according. They got to try something here because they want to force out ultimates. They're forcing out ultimates, so this is kind of acceptable in my books.
Yeah, but they are still going to be able to secure the fight. Actually, you're right about forcing out because they got the self-destruct as well as the Dragon Blade and all the defensive ultimates. Really, that was everything but the Pulse Bomb, which wasn't available, and the Primal Rage. I don't blame Hong Kong Attitude for it because it secures the fight, and actually Flash Wolves did commit a lot of their own. Cap will go through.
I actually don't blame Flash Wolves at all because that was economically so good for them. They made a killer of a trade, and now they're really set up for the third cap. What you don't want is momentum for the attacking team going into the third checkpoint because that's how you get that fast cap through, and that's also how the defensive teams really lose out on their best part of the map. This is where Flash Wolves can really dig their heels in, and the only way that happens is you get rid of the early ultimates from Hong Kong Attitude before they even get onto the third cap itself.
You're completely right there, actually, and wow, this is really tough for Shiloh. Oh, turns it around, catches Bacon Jack. This is now an opening. They're going to be relying here on Zonda's tactical visor. So Hong Kong Attitude, first they've been able to get the payload long distance for this one because Flash Wolves have had to sit way back. Good catch onto Sinclair. They're not going to stop here. Shiloh did go one of the Pulse Bomb, but Eting is catching everyone up in the space. This is really, really big for them. Shiloh finally goes down. Bacon Jack gets revenge, but the payload is not being stopped here. Sound Barrier gives them time. Bacon Jack gets a catch onto Mango Jai. This opens the door for Flash Wolves to stop up the payload at the 11th hour, and they will repel Hong Kong Attitude.
Yeah, absolutely. As soon as Flash Wolves managed to actually break out of their spawn, which they were camped in for a decent amount of time, and Ting was camping them in there with the Primal Rage. Eventually that runs out. Eventually you got to move your Transcendence out as well. That's when Flash Wolves are able to get the counter trades. Bacon Jack and Zonda were the big players there. Bacon Jack with the Pulse Bomb kills. Zonda activated Attack Visor as well. No, he didn't get any kills, but Hong Kong Attitude got scared. They said, we cannot play against Attack Visor. It's time for us to attempt to just regroup.
Yeah, so now Hong Kong Attitude, they do have some ultimates coming up. Flash Wolves have a few of their own on the horizon, but this is going to be pretty close to an even fight here. And Realman also swapping off this Lucio.
Yeah, he's just changing that one up as well, so I guess the Zenyatta is fine because you don't need the Lucio speed boost to really do anything here. Transcendence and Sound Barrier are roughly about the same. You've got better options to actually kill the divers with Discord. Here we go.
This is a good commit by Jongi, but they're just going straight past him as K4 looks to get the backliners.
Nice grenade.
He hasn't found Zonda though. The grenade was good, and Zonda had that one on lockdown. Good idea to dive past Jongi with that boost on him, and a good catch onto K-Momo. They kind of want to keep committing to this. Bacon Jack goes a little bit wide.
I don't think Ting should have dived.
K-Momo. Yeah, it was.
He got punished for that really hard.
Yeah, I can see why he did because he was like, oh, I can get the mech out. He did at least force the ultimate, so maybe it's not too bad actually drawing that ultimate
Actually, that's good. That's actually a really nice silver lining. Shaolin dying late means Hong Kong Attitude got to wait again, and they don't really have ultimates to play with. At least they got the ultimate out of Bacon Jack, but he's already nearly there. 40%. He'll get in the next fight probably.
And now CQB.
Hong Kong Attitude's still losing members. Come on, you guys got to regroup properly.
Yeah, that they do, and K4 doesn't have a Dragon Blade. In fact, they have no offensive ultimates to go off this time. They need to be more careful with their dives. I mean, it's a great idea for K4 to go deep onto the healers like that, but they need to address the DPS too.
Absolutely do, and Flash Wolves are actually playing very forward now. They're playing really aggressively. They're forcing the fight to happen outside. That's going to give them a second fight guaranteed.
That's a sleep.
Good sleep time.
Yeah, this gives them a bit of time, but look at this. Bacon Jack is really trying to stop this from happening. He's trying to stop anyone from getting in position, but the self-destruct makes some space. The Ting is too deep though, and on the other side of that is
Charlotte's
actually, is Jongi stalling up the back line. Charlotte is in, but maybe they're a little bit too scattered on this. A Ting, he's just barely still alive. Jongi is down. A Ting gets saved. They've hopped Jin Kao's mech, but that's all they've got so far. K4 desperately trying to find something, but he's struggling. Sinclair out with the self-destruct. Kills coming up. Flash Wolves, good stick onto Zonda though. Can spin this one back on its head. It is just healers and DPS for Hong Kong Attitude, but they're getting the tanks out of the picture. They've got the sound barrier to keep themselves alive, and maybe, just maybe, a Ting and Jin Kao will be able to rejoin this one as they still get the kills through. They have to shut down Jongi again, and he does have the healers on him. It is a hard ask, so they go after the healers. They're still struggling to get the payload back underway, but they're going to be able to get the tanks regrouping now. Bacon Jack struggling around the side. Flash Wolves give them a little bit of space.
Yeah, they give it a little bit of space, a little bit of time to respawn, but that's the point. Hong Kong Attitude are still waiting for respawns to rejoin the fight. The respawn advantage really favors Flash Wolves. Tactical visor can do a lot.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that is a very good tactical visor, but it gets a little bit shut out. Bacon Jack goes wide of the ult, but they catch a Ting anyway. There they go, all coming up as Hong Kong Attitude pile in a little bit too far, little bit too fast, seeing that the ults were down, getting a little bit ahead of themselves. Will be held up without the cap going through, but my goodness, they nearly got it through, and that maximum distance is what's going to count. They have every opportunity to win this.
Now you start to understand as well, for everyone watching, you see how important it is to actually get those forced ultimates on the second checkpoint. They knew they weren't going to be able to actually hold. In fact, it's not impossible for them to actually hold. You got two options there. Either you're going to win the fight, you're going to hold, or you're going to force a bunch of ultimates out, and Hong Kong Attitude are going to cap anyway. So that's fine. Then you actually get to dig your heels in for cap 3. And actually, Hong Kong Attitude never got a good fight after that. They had one good opportunity to snowball. They lost that, and they never got it back.
The only thing is I'm not saying you're wrong at all, but what Flash Wolves did after that was a little troublesome. They did give a lot of space to Hong Kong Attitude, I think rightfully so, but they let the payload get a very long way. It was within 5 meters of being capped out, right? And that maximum distance is what counts here. So sure, the payload finished way further back, but that doesn't really matter. Flash Wolves could have tried to take fights a little bit earlier, given that they had run down Hong Kong Attitude's ultimates. It's just this slight optimizational difference here. They could have maybe played it a touch cleaner, but it was still very well held by Flash Wolves.
What I think Hong Kong Attitude did quite well, that it was impressive, was their approach to combating the Orisa Tourbillon, because that's something Fireball failed to overcome completely. It's something that Hong Kong Attitude did find a bit of a chink in the armor to, and were able to penetrate, and that's something they can take with them, and something Flash Wolves will also have to look at, readdress, and say, is this defense foolproof enough? Is this going to be good enough in the playoffs? Is a big question.
Yeah, that's actually a really good thing that you're going to have to ask. I mean, it is breakable. Sure, Fireball didn't do it, but I mean, I'm not surprised that Hong Kong Attitude did. And honestly, AHQ and Blank could too, I guarantee it. So this may not be something Flash Wolves can actually do in playoffs.
And actually, Hong Kong Attitude set themselves up to defend anywhere. The cart has a good enough distance. It's about as good as you want if you can't get the full cap out. We're not going to go to a time bank, but if you're Hong Kong Attitude, you're not going to play for that right now. You're going to play to fully defend at any one of these 2 points before the third. That is.
They're trying to get aggressive here, but Hong Kong Attitude are actually making it hard for Flash Wolves to get in position. They are now at last able to get in position, but they do still have to pull the trigger. We'll see how this one pays off for them.
The Flash Wolves want to take this one quickly. You can see out of their lineup already, they just want to go. This is a very quick lineup. Someone's got to deal with the Ting.
Yeah, someone absolutely. He's going very, very deep. And actually, Hong Kong Attitude have managed to sort of pull back to this building here, top themselves off. They're looking to get back aggressive again, but they do need to pick the right window. A third has actually gone over now. No one's really pulled out kills until finally closing in the trailer and trade back onto Bacon Jack, but a Ting is low. Will get closed down upon, and no such return aggression, as now Zonda has the opportunity to go deep. It doesn't even matter if he goes in too deep here, because the rest of the team is on the point. K-Momo kind of keeping that one on lockdown. Some good return kills finally coming through for Hong Kong Attitude. They might just be able to pull this one out, given that K4 is still alive. And there we go. K4 just barely able to survive Zonda's dive. 2/3 do go over to Flash Wolves, though.
Yeah, that was a very aggressive play from Flash Wolves, and it does pay out in this sort of way. That's a stylistic kill, if anything. That's the kind of kill you put on a highlight reel. Anyway,
that's the third one we've seen this tournament. We've seen all 3 within the last 2 weeks.
It's almost like teams are finally, I don't know, they're not easy to pull off.
Finally figured out the diva optimization.
Yeah, they're not easy to pull off whatsoever. A nice hiding spot for K4 here as well. Unfortunately, he's not going to have a tech visor ready to go. He does now back off. He realizes he's been spotted out. And for Flashballs, this is a good timing for them. They're about to hit both support ultimates, both DPS ultimates. One of them already missed.
Bacon Jack
or not.
The mech. Yeah,
actually,
that was very important. Transcendence is now out for Flashballs. They can go on the aggressive, and the defensive ultimates haven't saved Hong Kong Attitude. The cap is going to go over here before the tac visor can come out, and K4 needs to. Oh, he's committing it. I don't know if I really like this. He could have held on to it. It goes down as well. It's so unfortunate. Thing is, right? Even with that ultimate, someone else has to contest the point while you sit back and use it. He could have just held it.
Now, the only justification I have for that is if K4 wanted to change to Genji or something else, he stays on the Soldier, so you're absolutely right. Otherwise, you just use an ultimate anyway because you're going to change, and that's just not the case right now.
Now, Flashballs can do exactly what Hong Kong Attitude did. Because K4 has taken a while to get back to this high ground, Flashballs can just kind of contest it a little bit, muck up Hong Kong Attitude's positioning so that they can't properly contest the payload, which is just steadily moving here.
Absolutely, and eventually Hong Kong Attitude got to be the ones to do something about it.
This is a good counter dive to Zonda, who has been bio-grenaded, so he's having a bit of a hard run of this and is going to have to back off. Nothing for that one. May even lose his life here if he's not careful. Meanwhile, the Ting, like I said, this is the counter dive while Zonda was getting aggressive, and it does work wonders. That was very nicely reacted to by Hong Kong Attitude, and they did predict that Flashballs would go for a dive like that.
And K-Momo actually kept his mech in the middle of all of it, so for a tank he tried to commit onto him, didn't really get the kill. Hong Kong Attitude do hold on, and Flashballs only spend a Dragon Blade for that. It was a failed Dragon Blade, got hit by the bio grenade, but they realized the fight was over, not going to commit anything else. Flashballs are still actually set up to take this next win.
Excuse me, they are, but this is one of those situations where a single early kill could define it for Hong Kong Attitude if they can find that. But already, Jin Kao in trouble. He's going to have to commit the self-destruct here, and it's very well placed. Catches Realman, but they do lose Jin Kao in that. That has forced out the Transcendence, though. So here's a good window. Low. Bacon Jack, he goes wide. Shylin gets picked off, though. It's very even. The payload hasn't really moved too much in this fight, and it does seem that Hong Kong Attitude may still be able to re-aggress and hold on here.
Well, the thing for Hong Kong Attitude is they get the full respawns, they will get another chance to hold. They manage to stall the card out in a sort of area where Flashballs can't just win off that one push. They will have to fight Hong Kong Attitude again, and now neither team really has enough ultimates to really do it.
Ooh, K-Momo kind of forced to retreat there, and Mango Jai able to get a kill onto Bacon Jack means that Flashballs have to wait a little bit longer.
Yeah, they're going to definitely want to look for a retreat there. If Hong Kong Attitude use this time to just reset up their defense, they need a bit of breathing space. They actually get the high ground again, which is very important. They want to make sure Flashballs do not get this, and if they do eventually get it, that they fight for it tooth and nail. The Flashballs, 2 ultimates coming online. Zonda will get the Dragon Blade very soon as well. That's what they're going to need.
High ground seeded. They're now just kind of fighting on this narrow, flat bridge. It is very difficult to actually hold a defense here. But Flashballs, they don't really have great angles of attack. Zonda trying to get on the side. Oh, is Jin Kao a little bit too well aggressed upon there. Hong Kong Attitude looking to try and open up with the boost onto a Ting, but he's kind of getting damaged down. They do at least catch Bacon Jack, which is very important, but they're not out of the woods yet as the commit comes in from Zonda and a Ting is out of the picture. K4 is trying to get something done with the tactical visor, but he doesn't have good angles. The bubble is good to block it as well. Forces them to use a sound barrier. I don't know if anyone can get to cover. Oh, they just barely do. And Jin Kao just barely navigates his way out of that, but they now have to re-get onto this fight because the payload is nearly getting through to the cap point. Mango Jai is dead. Zonda may lose his life for it, but no, he's scraped out alive as Hong Kong Attitude are getting killed as they try and recommit to this point, and that Diva ultimate completely defined that fight.
K4's stuck. He's actually in a really bad spot. You can just leave K4 there. If you don't kill K4, he's on no health. He can't rejoin his team. This is really bad for him. Yeah, he gets a kill. Hello. He gets a kill, but actually he's still stuck, so he's still in the same problem. Now he finally goes down.
Yeah. They do have a lot of time here to mount a defense. This is actually similar amount of time to what they had on the push. But Flashballs have more ultimates. This is going to be a tough one still.
They got momentum, and that's something Hong Kong Attitude did not have on their third cap push. Something Flashballs may be able to utilize to actually get the cap on through, and actually think Flashballs are kind of set up for this.
Big dive. There we go. Zonda's going deep. Let's see what he can find as Mango Jai is in trouble. Gets back to the spawn. Oh, no, he doesn't. He doesn't quite get it. So that was CQB retreating as Hong Kong Attitude get completely smacked out of this one. Surely you could have expected predicted that? How did you not read that dive coming? How did you get that badly routed? K4, the only one to commit ultimates, gets shut out. Flash Wolves find the cap through. That was disappointing.
A big difference between the two teams there. Flash Wolves, they were able to combat out Hong Kong Attitude timing-wise on the second cap to make sure there weren't going to be enough respawners. K4 was caught out as well. He was never going to rejoin his team properly. That was well played by Bacon Jake to make sure that K4 was always going to be stuck there. Eventually got taken down anyway. Had to wait for that respawn. Flash Wolves had a very good timing window when they even went on the third cap themselves. And they said, look, we actually have ultimates. Zonder's got Dragonblade coming online as well. Now it's time to pull the trigger, something Hong Kong Attitude failed to do consecutively, something that Flash Wolves know exactly how to execute.
And I don't know what happened at the end there. It really does. I mean, with all those ultimates that Flash Wolves had available, it really did feel like Hong Kong Attitude just who went like, here you go. Like, here's the target. Go ahead, sure. Like they just kind of, they got
caught out.
Yeah. Well,
they didn't have time to set up, which is well, more due to Flash Wolves.
Yes and no. I mean, they didn't have time to set up in the ideal position, but they did at least have all their members respawned, and they should have had rough track of what Flash Wolves had available. It's like Jongi and Zonda both went in, and they went in very deep, and they went in very aggressively, and Hong Kong Attitude were just thrown into complete disarray. It was like everyone died immediately. It's like, how do you get that caught out by just a Winston and a Genji? I know that Flash Wolves are good, but it was like, it was such an intense run of kills. I was surprised. That was uncharacteristic.
To be fair, Zonda was dealt with reasonably well because he went on Mango Jai originally, couldn't actually get that kill, and only saw CQB on the side in the final moment. So for one Dragonblade, he only got one kill.
Jongi probably still. You're not wrong. It was CQB he went after, but it was Mango Jai he killed. But you're right, only the one kill.
Oh, right. Yeah, you're right. So he only got the one kill, was only on one of the supports, not the other. I'm pretty sure he killed the Lucio and not the Ana.
No, it was the Ana.
CQB. Okay, well, I'll take your word for it. I'll take your word for it, and that's fine. The point is, he only got the one kill. He didn't get the other support, the one that he really wanted. We're going to go into a couple of replays really shortly as well to really break that one down and find out what happened. This is going to be in the very opening moments, and it's going to be Hong Kong Attitude's original attack.
So this is the one where they basically ignored Bacon Jack, and you can see why it sort of works. Flash Wolves want to try and pincer in on Hong Kong Attitude, but what Hong Kong Attitude are actually doing is they're forcing Flash Wolves into awkward positions. They forced K-Momo to commit this self-destruct here, and now where could Flash Wolves possibly go? Bacon Jack's actually caught off to the side. The rest of the team isn't able to regroup in this room here, which is ground that Hong Kong Attitude take to lick their wounds, then come out swinging once again, and this is where the fight starts going in their favor as they pick Zonda. The self-destruct creates the zoning, exactly. And that's because Flash Wolves were forced to retreat to the wrong position, and Hong Kong Attitude took the position you would normally retreat to.
Absolutely. Flash Wolves, they want to stay in this room that you can see in front of you. They want to be able to make sure that this is an impenetrable fortress, and that's exactly how they played it against Fireball, except for Hong Kong Attitude. They were able to dislodge Flash Wolves, force them to set up on the other side, like you said, and then suddenly, that's not where you want your turret and your Rissa to be. That's not where you want to put your supercharger down. Suddenly, you're super exposed, and the way they dealt with Bacon Jake was, I think, the ideal way. You sort of mentioned during the cast, they're not actually doing anything off Bacon Jake, and I kind of thought, that's okay in my book.
If he's not getting kills and he's not wasting your time, he's not doing his job.
He's wasting his own time at that stage.
So I really do hope we get to see a replay of it, because there was that one D.Va ultimate, which was, I think, the most game-defining ultimate.
No,
out of K-Momo. So this was before that second cap went through, and what happened is Hong Kong Attitude were almost in a position to sort of go for the fight. They were about to commit, and then the D.Va ultimate came out, right? And because it was such open space, no one was close to cover. Everyone had to go to different directions. They couldn't all just pull back into basically the interior. They couldn't just pull back to that. So they all had to run into different directions. And like, you even saw Jinkao went down over the side and went into the sort of like lower entrance off the side, right? And this is why I do hope we get to see it, because I know that's a really vague explanation, right? But they were so split after that, they suddenly became the ones attacking the payload when they had a second before being the most enjoyed. Like, that is probably the most influential a D.Va ultimate can be. And we talk about
without actually getting a kill.
Yeah, when we talk about how the strength of that D.Va ultimate is how it forces the enemy's hand in terms of where they can and can't positioning, because you have to go for cover. Forcing an enemy team into all different kinds of cover, forcing them to totally scatter, flips a fight on its head.
Positionally, it gives Flash Wolves a lot of breathing space. Now we're going to take a look at...
Same push.
The exact same push again, and actually, I actually want to see that a ting kill with the charge at the end. That's something I didn't really pay attention to, so that'll be interesting.
You can also see here, by the way, because of where the Torbjorn and Orisa are set up, they are expecting the push to come around from this side, but because they're not set up in front of that room, they couldn't, because they're not set up in front of that room, they can't actually retreat to it themselves, which is part of why Hong Kong Attitude.
This is where he puts down the self-destruct, well placed, like I said.
Because it's behind the shield. Forces the shield to reposition.
Here comes a charge from the Ting any moment now.
Boom.
Bam.
Yeah, and that was very, very tight margins on that one as well. They were both caught against the power pole, you can see there. But the big thing about that self-destruct, like I said, is it forced the shield reposition. And it still wasn't able to save the turret. It was able to save the Orisa, and it was able to stop further damage coming through. But I really hope we get to see that D.Va self-destruct. But here is an earlier fight in Hong Kong Attitude's defense. This is probably one of the better ones they had. But you see how difficult they're finding it to sort of commit given the high ground they're holding. You see Flashwolf's ability to just put them into complete disarray here. And now, even though the kills are kind of coming off even, they've lost the high ground here. No one in particular has it. And that means the moment the payload started moving here, it was Flashwolf's high ground to take.
And they're still scrambling. Hong Kong Attitude is still scrambling to actually find positioning. Everybody's on the ground here. There's only one member. K4's actually on the high ground, but he gets caught out, I believe. We're not going to see it, but you do see both the tanks from Flashwolves chasing after him, so there's no way he lives. That's kind of the point. So
actually, I'll tell you what, he did live. He did live in that one on 9 HP. And he did rejoin his team. But by the time they had to lose all of the ground they had.
Okay.
And that was just before that D.Va fight. That's how it happened. Can't confirm.
Where were you?
Where were you at 9 HP?
Yeah. When K4 was running away at 9 HP, where were you?
Where were you?
Oh boy.
Ooh, yeah, that was interesting. I think it's almost a little bit of a shame actually that Hong Kong Attitude weren't able to pull out a defense at any particular moment there, but that is just Flashwolf's strength on the attack. And they didn't really, they didn't do themselves any favors. I feel like a lot of that game was actually a knock-on effect from K4 committing that tactical visor on that first point. He didn't need to do it. He died very late. Had he just retreated, which he had the path to do, it would have been fine. They didn't respect the fact that 2/3 had been capped up. There was no one to contest the point on K4's behalf while he altered. And I legitimately think they forgot that only a third had to go through. I think he thought he had time while they sat on the point for him to fire that out and actually maybe even hold the point.
So like we said previously, it's about playing to your circumstances, and the circumstance now is the score is 2-0 in Flashwolf's favor. This will be the final opportunity now for Hong Kong Attitude to bring it back. I said previously Hong Kong Attitude should be looking to take a map win here. Assault looked kind of worse for Flashwolves, and it's still possible, so we're going to find out very soon exactly what's going to happen onto Assault. It will be Hong Kong Attitude's pick again, so that's all going to happen right after this break. All right, well that didn't take too long as we're about to get ready to head into map number 3, Hong Kong Attitude's pick. It's going to be Assault. This could be it. This could be the opportunity to swing it back, or it'll be a somewhat of a letdown and 3-0 again for Flashwolves.
And please don't say that.
And their win streak will continue, because it's only a letdown because look, the last two teams, they can potentially take a map off of Flashwolves. Fireball already failed. They were very close, mind you, but Hong Kong Attitude, they've had some much better moments so far. Let's compare it, because Lijiang was better than Fireball. Also, Eichenwalde was better than what Fireball had, so will Temple of Anubis, should they go there, be better than Fireball? Yeah,
the only scary thing is, much like Fireball's Lijiang, and arguably like Eichenwalde, I say this is less true for Eichenwalde though, both times the teams have just fallen short of the mark. Flashwolves have got it over the line. And honestly, so far in this tournament, that has been the difference. I mean, even in their series against Blank, which on a series front has been the closest they've come to a defeat for a very long time, even then, on every single map, and it was a 3-0, Flashwolves did get it over the line where Blank didn't. And that has been one of the big differences between them and other teams. The consistency in doing that, the coolness under pressure, the ability to execute at all times when it really counts has been what has steered them through. But this is the best shot yet.
Chocolate mousse for dessert again, nothing, no surprises whatsoever.
They're having peanuts. Because 2 peanuts walk into a bar and one is assaulted.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get it. I
appreciate that.
I appreciate
that was
the reference.
That was like the oddest reaction to a punt I've ever had. I'll be honest, like, oh, I get it.
I was there. Where were you when Pixie made a joke?
Where were you? Where were you when Peanut was
Temple of Anubis. It's good that we're going to the exact same 3 maps, because my point of comparison is Fireball didn't win anything on Lijiang. Hong Kong Attitude did take out a stage. Fireball didn't get past the first cap in Eichenwalde. Hong Kong Attitude pushed it all the way to the cap 3.
Yeah.
They nearly got to time bank. They didn't get to time bank, but it's still phenomenally better than what Fireball did. So, question remains, we're going to Temple of Anubis. It did end up going to a tiebreaker for Fireball. So, should history repeat itself here, or should, the comparison stand? Hong Kong Attitude would look to be set to win this one.
And I do like Hong Kong Attitude on Temple of Anubis. They are very good. They were the first team to pull out the offensive Sombra.
In this
Mango Jai
competition.
is one of the best Sombras in this competition. They are one of the best teams at working with the Sombra in this competition. Excuse me. He has incredible uptime on that EMP, and the team plays for it. They play around it. They make it happen, make it work. It's just good. It's good.
The best team on Temple of Anubis so far in terms of how they play, the Sombra and the EMP that I've been impressed with was actually AHQ tonight versus Machi. The way they played that, the amount of space that they didn't give to Machi, the amount of time that they took away from Machi and pressure that they added on was immense. That's the best way I've seen Sombra and a defense play around a Sombra EMP in the entire OPC to date. So AHQ set that standard. Now can either of these teams actually get to that level? Flash Rules against Fireball weren't there. Hong Kong Attitude have now a chance to prove maybe they can hit it.
This is going to be an exciting one. I really hope it doesn't end up being a letdown. Firstly, because we've hyped it up a lot. Secondly, because I actually really want to see Hong Kong Attitude pull out a win here. I mean, I feel like it would always be kind of poetic if they do get this undefeated round robin, as it were, because it would be kind of like this tragic hero, even though they do get it, they can't actually get into playoffs. But tell you what, it would actually set them as one of the strongest teams for Season 2.
Absolutely. I think they would be proud of the result regardless, because they still beat AHQ twice, they still beat Blank once, and if they take a map here tonight, even if it's one map, I only predicted one, that would be a bigger victory than any team has had in their past 7 weeks. It's a big deal and something they'd be happy to take away with. A great way to cap off your season.
There is a lot going on here just visually, by the way.
Welcome to Overwatch.
Yeah. So, unlike Fireball, this is interesting. When they do get the assault pick, Hong Kong Attitude actually like to attack first. This is very unusual, but it does work for them, and here is that attack Sombra.
It's because they liked, I don't know, there are a couple of reasons, and they really prefer, they have a very specific attacking strategy, and actually Flash Rules not preparing well for that. They've already given up that top space, they've already given up the health bank above against Hong Kong Attitude, who played the specific attacking strategy.
Yeah, ooh, that's a good catch though. I was going to say, like, surely you ought to know that this is what they do, but yeah,
nice
a very great
grenade.
catch, and they go aggressive based off the back of it. Yeah, it is a disaster. Route them in the room. And because they were all trying to pull back to that health pack that was hacked, and none of them did, actually Mango Jai hasn't got much ult charge up either.
Shylin died super fast to Zonda, and actually you see what Flash Rules did there. They did a pincer play, Zonda in the back line after killing Shylin, and then the rest of Flash Rules and the bio grenade, just the icing on top of the cake. No heals for anyone at Hong Kong Attitude, just disaster.
Now again, they try and cut off Hong Kong Attitude as they go for this positioning. They're going to look to set up the same play again, but I don't think Hong Kong Attitude are going to fall prey to it once again. So we'll see how this one pays off.
You like to think not, but at the same time, Zonda's ready to go with the Dragon Blade, and I expect it to come out very, very soon. In fact, it's got a nano on top of it as well. The only thing Hong Kong Attitude can play with is an EMP, and it has to be a good one if they want to win.
Yeah, ideally they want to get like a pick beforehand, and they're going to just go aggressive with this one. The EMP can't counter it out. It's already happened, but they still used it anyway. All they got in response was K-Momo's mech. That was about as unfortunate a use of that EMP as possible.
And it didn't even catch Zonda, so, if you want to bring it out as a response to Zonda, that's one thing, but not hitting him. Your option against Zonda would have been, if you hack him with the EMP, he's not going to get the reset dashes, maybe he becomes manageable. You actually didn't get that done. He's not manageable, your team goes down, and you lost EMP. In fact, Mango's had enough of it.
Yeah. And I do like this. It's good to just change when something's not working, but they don't really have time to run out ultimates. Bacon Jack throws it into the mix, sticks Mango Jai. This is already looking rough. Shylin goes wide. They forced out the sound barrier. Flash Rules have committed all their ultimates here, but Hong Kong Attitude have also committed the few they had. They're still at a numbers disadvantage. They really can't commit to this.
They've lost a lot of time. 2 minutes already gone.
They can't commit and they can't retreat.
Well, by this time, Fireball already capped out, so this is not a good start for Hong Kong Attitude. And they made
what
a
is
gambit.
a Ting doing dropping down to here? He does get out, thank goodness, but that was dangerous. K4 looking to go aggressive. Can't deflect that Tesla cannon, but Realman catching Shylin again.
That's a trade.
This is so rough for Hong Kong Attitude. It is a trade, but K4 is going to go down here. Ooh, just barely gets topped off. Jinkao does get back and just make a good sleep onto a Ting. He's able to get a corner trap. He needs to close this down. K4 finally able to open up, as does Zonda. Who gets more? It is K4, just barely. And they will get this one over the line. They lost so much time on that. Yeah, Molten Core has to deflate that up. That Molten Core is going to save this point. A Ting is going to die as well. I don't believe this. They're finally on this point thanks to Xiaolin. The last man standing in a big way here, and luckily Mango Jai has kept the sightlines here. Flash Wolves actually give away a little bit of ultimate charge. They look like they kind of want to recommit to this. They don't disagree. They have the numbers here, and they can save it because there's less than a minute. K4's already swapped onto their second point hero there. Zonda getting kills up. Hong Kong Attitude, no way. They're looking to fall short of the mark here. I don't believe that this is happening. Flash Wolves striking back, and now Hong Kong Attitude in dire straits.
K4 switching off the Widowmaker. I don't know what's going on there. That's not even a second point pick. That's just like, that's a first point pick that you open with, not something you change halfway through. So K4 says, none of that. We're going back to this. And in the final hour as well, 20 seconds remaining. That Molten Core, it was a little bit strange, but it saved Flash Wolves.
I think maybe they had prepared a strat for the second point pick, but that's the thing. Otherwise, I don't understand why they would have done that. Xiaolin goes wide with the pulse bomb. Mango is picked off because Zhongyi is deep. The sound barrier has been committed, but what's the use if it didn't save Mango Jai? They must get a trade kill now, or they are done for. A Ting is low. K4's forced out. The members are down. The overtime is there. They've only just taken out the turret, and that is nothing to be proud about. 83.3% on the first point is a worse showing than Fireball, and the dream is about to die for Hong Kong Attitude.
It's time to put away the Hong and bring out the Kong. I think that's the solution for Hong Kong Attitude right now. It's time. It's time because you are a team that has done so well, and to now even fall short of Fireball standard is unfortunately reputation-wise just you're not hitting the mark on your own reputation.
And the thing is, they didn't execute. They were the ones who mucked up those attacks. It was not just that Flash Wolves are good at defending. I mean, of course they are. They're Flash Wolves. You've got to expect that. They mucked up their attacks. They didn't read what Flash Wolves were doing. They didn't react to it right. They were the ones continually getting picked. They were the ones committing ultimates too late. Everything that happened there was Hong Kong Attitude's fault only.
I'm going to be extremely impressed. I will be more impressed now with Hong Kong Attitude successfully defending that first cap now than I would be if they just won the entire map, because this is a very difficult situation for Hong Kong Attitude to actually play in. It feels nigh impossible. There's a glimmer of hope there, and Flash Wolves they're not invincible. As we've seen, as Fireball have proven, they do bleed, and Hong Kong Attitude, they look to gash open that wound if they can.
And I'll tell you what, I feel like what we're seeing is exactly what we were seeing on Lijiang Tower that we talked about at the time. It feels like Hong Kong Attitude are too afraid of Flash Wolves. I feel like something about this has got in their heads, and they just feel like they can't do it. They feel Flash Wolves are just too good. They aren't looking confident. They aren't looking relaxed, and that's the one thing about Fireball. To their credit, they are always easy breezy and ready to give it a go.
Yeah, they're not scared of anything.
Hong Kong Attitude, on the other hand, look like they've totally psyched themselves out.
It's really not something you want to be seeing right now. It's just, this is really the final moments for Hong Kong Attitude. I mean, I said a good way to end the season would be to take a map win off of Flash Wolves, but to not do that would be, I mean, you'd still be looking good for Season 2, but at the same time, man, you really wish you beat Flash Wolves.
Yeah, you'd really wish you'd at least took a map off them. And it doesn't matter how close you came if you didn't. That's not a claim to fame. Nearly beat Flash Wolves. Well, so did a lot of people.
And some people actually did as well. Well, they are holding on. Keeping K4 alive would be ideal here.
Xiaolin's in trouble. There we go. Zhongyi following up on that dive. Bacon Jack did the groundwork. Zhongyi completes it. Now Bacon Jack picking up the turret. Zonda absolutely routes them. Jin Kao mech out of the picture. K4 is still alive when all is said and done, as is CQB actually. But
everyone's
can those
down.
two members? Yeah, K4 is in fact the only person to survive that, but that is not going to be enough. Everyone's down. It is indeed crazy. The point is ticking up. Hong Kong Attitude have to absolutely book it to get here, but Xiaolin gets caught up short of the mark, and ladies and gentlemen, it's over.
No parlor tricks required, no somber attacks, nothing out of the bag, not even a Widowmaker in the opening. You just play your standard street magic and it's enough.
That was rough. That was extremely rough.
I couldn't tell if you're referring to my reference or that match, but I'm going to say both.
Frankly, both.
I will say both as well. I agree.
And maybe I'm not as impartial as I thought, because this hurt.
Actually,
it kind of hurt to see this, because we've started to really believe
this was a great play, by the way.
Yeah. We've started to really believe a lot in Hong Kong Attitude and their latest upswing, and it has been a phenomenal one. It has been a huge success story. You would have liked for this to be the capstone, and they're just not going to get that. Maybe that is going to be what drives them for Season 2, knowing that you fell short of the mark and being determined to never let it happen again. But right here, right now, this is where it ends. This is how the season wraps up for Hong Kong Attitude, really. They do still have another game tomorrow, but this is really it.
It was a storybook, though. Think of it as the end of Act 1. This is the heroic fall of your title character.
Gotta wait for the sequel.
And you're going to have to wait for the sequel. In this case, Hong Kong Attitude will have to wait for the sequel to really come back and prove themselves again. And I believe they can do that. I believe they have what it takes within themselves.
Tell you what, the writer does work fast, because I hear the next book's coming out in August.
Wow, he's pre-written that.
He's a machine.
Who's doing that? I don't know. It has been. It's not even over Hong Kong Attitude. They technically have 2 more games to go. They actually have to play Fireball, which will be interesting.
It will.
The fact being, Fireball actually had a really good go against Flash Wolves as well, if that's anything to really compare themselves to. And that should make that matchup particularly exciting, because Hong Kong Attitude, usually you'd expect them to beat Fireball, but the newest Fireball edition, they're looking great. We're going to go into a couple replays in a second as well, so this is going to be...
This is where it all fell apart.
Yeah,
for
this
Hong
is the
Kong
final
Attitude.
attack.
So what happened here is, I don't actually think they respected the fact that Flash Wolves did have respawns. I don't think they respected how long it took them to close out, and the fact that they'd only just gotten the point. And part of that was K4 on this Widowmaker. I guarantee you this was something they were planning to get, like, they were going to see if they could try and get a quick snowball on the second point and maybe get a pick. But picking it this early, it costed them. It was not reading the situation and realizing that Flash Wolves... It was not realizing that Flash Wolves could go for another fight.
It's not... to me, I don't think it's them setting up for point 2. I think it's K4 saying, the fastest way I can re-engage the fight as a respawner is if I play Widowmaker, I can play from the archway of the entrance and I don't need to physically be on the point. So he's saying, this is how I can be effective and a part of the fight in the quickest fashion possible, and I can get the understanding.
I suppose.
I can back that up. And
it could be one or the other, but either way, it didn't work. That's the unfortunate thing, and that's really what it is. At the end of the day, I feel like Hong Kong Attitude weren't prepared for Flash Wolves' re-engage. They were too busy going, all right, cool, we got the point. Like, rather than going, yes, commit the cooldowns on the healers, commit the boost of the healing, commit the bio grenade,
cash them mostly check.
Sure, normally you'd want to save them for another fight. Like, normally in this position, if you were going to get the cap through, you just take it slowly, use the Ana left clicks to top everyone's health off, just, get the slow heal. But you've got to commit it fast, because Flash Wolves are going to come back and fight, because they can, and they will, and they should, and Hong Kong Attitude didn't read it. They did not play the game they were in.
Exactly, if you're sort of watching this as well, this is the fight. This is the one they just push on through. Again, no gimmicks here. Exactly the kind of attack that you expect out of Flash Wolves. Very hard, very quick.
Bacon Jack did groundwork. Jongi dived in. Zonda followed up. They got the kills through. It is like dive by the book.
I imagine there's a book and you dive. I don't know. Dive by the book. What does that even?
You put the book on the water, and then you jump. But you got to beside it. You got to land them beside the book.
Beside the book.
Dive by the book. Dive by the book.
I think they executed really well. And the big difference there is when you look at Hong Kong Attitude, they went for the Sombra play. And look, it's been successful before, but at the same time, it's so telegraphed because you've done it every time. You've done it every time on Temple of Anubis. Any team
Flash
that's done
Wolves is
their
the first
research,
team to figure it out.
Any team that does their research, and Flash Wolves do their research, it's like, okay, you're going to do this, and we're going to respond. And we're going to respond by trapping you in there. I originally said, like, why did Flash Wolves just give up the high ground? Actually, they baited Hong Kong Attitude into that high ground, into the room, and then they pincered.
Yeah, they absolutely did. And here's the thing, right? Flash Wolves knew that this was the last challenge to them before playoffs, really. And they also knew what Hong Kong Attitude were wanting. They were seeing the upswing. They were watching them beat AHQ and then beat them again and then beat Blank, right? And they were going, okay, let's take this very seriously. What are Hong Kong Attitude doing? All right, cool, let's counter this. Let's do this, let's do that. I'm not too surprised to see them actually counter it out. I did feel like it was a matter of time. And a part of me did hope that maybe Hong Kong Attitude would be able to beat Flash Wolves too. But if you're Hong Kong Attitude, this can't have surprised you too much that someone finally figured you out.
We're going to go into the player of the coin.
It has to. Well, it's Jongy. There we go. It couldn't be Bacon Jack twice. It's got to be Jongy.
You flipped it, and this time it goes onto Jongy for the fantastic Winston play.
And it
you
was,
didn't
actually.
land in the middle because that's Realment.
The thing is, I will actually say as well, he did actually play better than Bacon Jack in this one. So, I mean, it's not just, I can't be Bacon Jack twice. He did actually play, like last game, Bacon Jack, yeah, it was Bacon Jack show, right? This one actually was Jongy. And a lot of it was following up on setup done by members like Bacon Jack and sometimes K-Momo, but it was still getting that follow-up right. He was diving at the right times, diving adequately and safely, and actually closing out kills on key members very, very consistently. Good job, Jongy.
Absolutely, and two of the best players on that team, like, you going back to the blank interview as well, they said, look, Bacon Jack across the board, and Serenity said also Jongy, and I'd have to agree with that. Yes. Jongy is, in my books, the best Winston in the whole competition, and it shows. The results of Flash Wolves prove that. As for him and also across the board for their entire team, they still go undefeated, not just in matches, but now in maps. Incredibly important. That 10 map loss, it will remain as only 10 maps, and we're not going to find out if Flash Wolves are going to bleed until we get to essentially the finals. Yes, there is Detonator, and that's actually going to be the closing match of the regular season. It will finish with Flash Wolves versus Detonator. If Detonator, or rather for Flash Wolves, they'll say, look, watch us now because this will be the last time you see us until the finals.
They'll vanish with flair. I like it. There'll be a flash,
and then Wolves,
and then Wolves, yeah, and then the team will be gone. You won't see them for a week. No, for 2 weeks. Ooh, they're not in the semis. Wow.
Exactly. They're not even in the semis.
That's how it works. Yeah.
They're really good at disappearing. So that's. Well, if we get a chance to, I think we'll do a quick recap of the night as well before we get into the post-match interview. Match 1, we had Machi versus AHQ, 3-0 there. Then in match 2, AHQ came back against Fireball in a 3-2 series. The best result Fireball has ever had against AHQ. Match 3, Fireball versus Flash Wolves. While it was a 3-0, very strong showing by Fireball. And then finally we finished off the night. Hong Kong Attitude against Flash Wolves, 3-0 in Flash Wolves' favor.
And I want to say this first half of the night was the last we see of AHQ before the semi-finals next weekend, where they will play Blank. Blank's last showing the day before was a lot more convincing. That was AHQ's send-off, and it was shaky.
All right, we're going to get into the post-match interview now. I will be translating over into English, and it's going to be with Zonda.
先聊一下游戏内容吧。今天在漓江天塔的时候，阿森有讲说，
他敢
漓江天塔76还能打，你为什么突然换元素
？So he says,
因为
76 is good. Why did you play Genji?
就是互相在 poke 的话，如果我们没有直接抓掉对方的安娜，他只要提到大绝，我们
So I specifically want to try and get the Anna on the other side, and I feel like 76 is good for poking, but we need to get the dive in there in the back line.
好像处理的不是很好，因为没有人踩点，那个失误是怎么样？
那失误就是每个人都在问，哎，谁要踩，谁要踩，谁要踩。
Oh yeah, so on Temple of Anubis, no one went onto the cap to actually contest, and everyone on the team said, who's on the cap, who's on the cap, and then they suddenly realized no one was on the cap.
对啊，然后去点上的话会变成目标。
对，懒人包就是都队友的问题。
对，玩输出没有那么多问题，只要杀人就好了，其他都不关我的事。
顾杀人就好了。
He's saying I don't have to think about too much. Usually I just focus on kills. So we're talking about Orisa Torby on defense.
这个你们一开始有料到吗？
Have you thought about the counters?
想说要怎么应对吗？
How did you counter the Reaper?
单纯就守不下来，就是那时候技能交换有问题，然后还有站位上的问题。
So we had positional problems as well. So I noticed you were quite spread and Realment was on the side. That's correct.
就配合有失误嘛，就死了。
Yeah, we couldn't regain positioning. We died.
配合这样的失误，那再还有一个很有趣的问题是在神庙的地方，你们炮塔是架在桥下，因为一般
So on Temple of Anubis, you put your turret under the bridge. Usually you don't put it there.
就他很随性嘛，因为他有可能知道对方就是不会走过去那边，
So
然后不会先发。
Realment says that he specifically did that against Hong Kong Attitude because he knew they weren't going to go on the bottom side. He knew Hong Kong Attitude were going to attack on the top, so he put the turret behind under the bridge so it wouldn't be easily found.
我在访 Realment 的时候，他说他
So I asked Realment, and he says he lost an ultimate.
我一定开发，因为大绝很重要。
And I was angry because the ultimates are really important.
出来就直接按大。
I think it was a deserved
前
call
一
out.
波他说那一波要开大，然后没开到大，然后那时候我们就在问，哎，你怎么还有大绝？我也忘记那时候怎么样，然后结果他就突然开大。
所以你觉得
Yeah,
他
so
不是
he
按
did
错
it quite
他
randomly.
在闹
and
不会按错，不肯按错。
不可能按错，
And
你
he-
一直在闹脾气。
and he-
不要再给我说
And
实
real
话
and Realman says he doesn't really. He's
对我来
apparently
打
he didn't own up to
我
it
按个
properly.
Q 给你们看，要我开我就开。好了，因为你们现在是联赛第1名嘛，那
So you're currently in first place.
害怕季后赛的时候遇到哪支队伍？
Who would you not want to face?
完全，那你们现在
So
在
he
准备的
says
是
none. I
我
believe.
在准备，就是我在想世界赛的东西啊。
I'm actually thinking about World Cup
因
right
为我
now.
们目标放远一点嘛，因为我们最近目前团练对象都是韩国一线队伍。
We're actually looking at the World Cup because we play a lot of Korean teams, and that's our main competition. So we're preparing to beat them in the World
强
Cup.
队赢才会比较放心一点。
哦，了解，
对啊，目前觉得就是他们打不赢，但是如果打 AH 跟不认可的话，是应该没什么问题啊。
So yeah, we play a lot harder teams than AHQ and Blank, and they shouldn't be too much of a problem.
马上就进我们的沙发去
We're also going to go to a couch interview as well with, I believe, some more Flash Wolves members. It's going to be Ray, Bacon Jack, and Realman.
自我介绍一下。
大家好，我是311。
大家好，我是 Bacon Jack。
大家好，我是瑞。
没有错，那非常恭喜闪电狼干也是连战
Congratulations
是挺进了季后
to
赛。
Flash Wolves.
那这边不妨也要问一下一些刚才也问过你们其他队员的一些问题，就是想问一下教练跟2位选手，就是一路从你们开始接触到这款游戏
So
然后到
from the beginning
加
till
入队伍
now.
然后呢一路打到了开始打到 OPC 加入闪电
So
狼
you know, joining Flash Wolves, playing the OPC.
一路是打得很顺，然后挺进到季后赛。想说问一
So
下
you're
你的
playing
心路历
pretty
程
well
就是
up
一
until
路这样走来
even into the playoffs.
就是发自真心的。
What have you really discovered since then? How have you felt about the entire journey?
我觉得其实到现在都还蛮辛苦的。
It's been a lot of hard work
我们
up
在
until now.
队伍组建，应该说到他们全部都到公司报道之前，我们就已经开始就是他们都是各自在自己的家
So
里。
everyone was in different teams and in their own houses as well at the start.
我觉得我们努力的比别人多了。
I think we've worked a lot harder than other teams so
百分
far,
百肯定我们努力的比别人多。
and I think that's been part of the success.
当然，就是我觉得我们自己也有给我们自己定一个目标，就是我们一个阶
We've
段一个阶
set
段
very high standards and goals for ourselves.
那再来就是我们希望我们也能在
And that's
比如说
for
各
the
各式
OPC
各样的国际舞台上，
And maybe on the international stage as well further after this.
所以
Some of
我
my
觉
own
得
personal
我
goals
们
as well as the team.
队的选手，包含我们的目标是一致的。
So we all have the same goal in mind. I think that's
对啊
important.
那当然，最终还是要看冠军赛嘛。
对
对啊，那我
So we're still looking at the
我觉得
playoffs and focusing on that.
一样啦，就是不会掉以轻心啦，因为没到最后都不知道嘛。
And we're
所以
not
我
and
们
we're not
现在
gonna let go of the focus here because the results are still unknown. We don't want to go into that underestimating anyone.
从打进职业前，都是在家跟
So
其他
since the very
其他队
beginning,
的队友。
I've been playing at home with my teammates.
我在约，因为我那时候
And back then I
加
was
入职业队
organizing things
打出
myself.
就是名堂出来。进职业队之后
And
真
since
的
joining a
跟
professional
我想象
team,
中一样，就是很辛苦，但
and it has been a lot of work.
比赛我也很享受比赛，比赛也很有乐
But I
趣。
I really want to play in competitions and win.
从一开始在 Stay Frost 一路带起来。
So you originally in Stay Frosty.
一路到 OPC 换到闪光的时候也玩的一样是下叫，这
So
个努力
now
是大家都
so
看
now you're playing Tracer in Flash Wolves and still performing well.
其实因为我以前也当过职业选手，
So I've been a professional
对
gamer
当
before.
职业选手的心路历程比较没有那么多感受。
So
不过我觉得对
I'm more used to the lifestyle.
在我们输给 N17跟 AH，
So when we lost to AHQ and
我
Machi,
觉得对我们队伍蛮重要的，就是
that was a big turning point for
仔
us.
细地冷静下来，然后好好讨论一下我们现在我们所面临到的
We
问题，
really had to
然后每个
talk
人
with the
就是
team and really
都有讲出自己的
reassess
想法
reassess
感觉。
our team with everyone involved.
就是那两场败仗对我们来说很重要。
And that was a really
虽
important
然是
moment
战
for
败但是
us.
对于整体的队伍上面有很大的提升。对，没有错。那这边来问你们一个比较有趣的问题，就是一直以来就在 OPC 里面，你们最注意
So who in the OPC, an individual player,
不一定要最强
do you really look at as
就是你觉得你
a
最
strong player?
当然我在前提下不包含主持人，也不包含对
Which individual player within the OPC do you really take notice of?
像我们可以讲一下 ，Bacon Jack 基本上是目前最被注意的选手。
And Bacon Jack has been one of the most
mentioned
players.
有3个都说最注意。
And Blank, 3 members of Blank mentioned that you were.
我安娜刚把 Blank， 他在想说 Bacon Jack 好可怕，我听那个闪光的声音我都快吓死。
有那么可怕吗？
好可
He
怕
says, "Am I really that scary to them?"
我是那时候刚 OPC 刚打的时候
So at the start of
觉
OPC,
得 HQ 的 DZ 还蛮可怕的。
I thought Dizzy was
对
really
因
scary.
为那时候其实我们打 OPC 前就有猜说，HQ 会出什么阵型。
是，
So we've
结果
we've had experience
虽
against
然是
HQ
出了
before,
我们意想到的阵型，可是他们那个 DZ 的单兵还真的还不错，
只有让你
and
自己
Dizzy Soldier was really impressive to
就没
me.
办法低估他们。
是。好，那 Real Man 那边
And Realman,
应该是 HQ 的 Carries 吧，
AHQ's
因为
carries,
他一开始没有上场嘛，
because he didn't play for a
他
while,
们就一直赢。
but as soon as he came on, they started
很
winning.
厉害有没有？
I feel like he's a really strong player.
对，就是那段时间就是蛮注意他的。
That was the strongest period for
后
HQ.
排变得很猛这样子。对，那瑞教练这边呢？
And Ray,
你也是
I think so as well.
哦，
I think carries as well. I'm the same as Realman.
喂，
Is my mic working?
换一支。
I'll change the mic.
对吗？我想说我讲话没声音，我跟3亿一样啦。
I'm
就
the
是
same as Realman.
比较注意凯瑞斯。
I think I
因
look
为
at
其
carries.
实在之前我就已经很注意他这位选手。
I was actually had my eyes on him
我觉得
from
他
a
的
very
安纳是
early
玩
point.
得不错的
I feel like his
玩
Anna
得
is
不
very
错然
impressive.
后蛮有意思的，所以一直以来都很注意他了。
I've always really considered him as a strong
所谓
player.
的跟反派中间的一个对立关系啊。人家常会说闪电狼是正派英雄，然后呢 HQ 是反派。请问3位对这个说法有什么想表达的什么想法？
没有吧？我觉得
Do any 3 of you have
没什么正派反派
additional comments on that?
可是现在很多观众都这样觉得。
所以那是那个也不是，我觉得我们不会受到那个什么影响嘛，也没有什么所谓的正派反派，是大家私底下都还是很好朋友啊。对啊，
So we're all actually we're all good friends here, even with
我
AHQ.
很不在意我是不是反派。
其实我觉得澳洲队比较像反派。
澳洲会比较像反派吗？长得很可怕，对不对？那个
Actually,
因
actually
为他们
Blank are
应该
kind of
是
scary
比较强啊，所以我们跟
because they're a strong team.
相同目标是要打败他们啊。
So actually, AHQ and us as Taiwanese teams really wanted to beat
最高
them.
的姿态哦，对。那我也非常期待，就是闪电狼之后在其他的舞台上发光发热。那我要这边问你们最后一个问题，就是
My last
你觉得
question.
加入电竞、加入打 OPC 之后，对你的人生上面，
So,
不是只
since
说对
joining in the
技术
OPC,
电脑上面
on a more
是
personal
对人
level,
上面有什么样的帮助？你有学习到
what
什么
sort of changed here? How's it affected your life?
这个应该培根最适合回答。
对
I think Bacon should answer.
这个对，
就是打职业前超级混那种。
So it's kind of a dream come
你会觉得
true.
人生没什么，也不是说人生没什么目标，你当时就觉得做事比较随便，然后
Back then it was pretty
上课也
casual,
提
and
不起劲。
you weren't really sure what you were doing.
如果你真的突然想往一个目标前进的话，
But now we have specific goals in mind. Just excuse the technical difficulties, actually. Hopefully we'll be able to get back on.
Well,
Oh, there it is. I
kinda-
mean, there's
kinda
some interesting
interesting,
thoughts
yeah.
anyway.
I think one of the most interesting thoughts that was kind of captured there, actually, something that they really hit upon was, I would dare say something I've kind of suspected, that they are, close friends with AHQ. A lot of them have been on other teams in the past with
They've
members
been
of
on the
AHQ,
same teams too.
and also Matchy as well. That's also the case, and it's interesting that they kind of feel an almost national-related drive
Yeah.
to beat Blank. Blank are, I don't want to say that the foreign team, that makes it sound like it's this
Invaders.
but they are, this is actually the local boys beating the other
好感人肺腑
countries.
啊！
Well done, Bacon.
讲完
Jack.
了，
Well
这
done,
你要
Bacon
讲
Jack.
一样的话，你可以赶快换别的话题。哦，不用讲。
Realman says like he said everything I wanted
还
to
没
say.
教练呢。
啊，我要讲，
虽然你是
For
个
right？
大前辈啊，是电竞界的一个大前辈了。
我
那你就讲说，对，带这支队伍这样子好了。
这样还可以。因为我是从别的游戏项目转
So
过
I
来，
came from
其实
other
一开始
games.
会有我觉得因为是不一样游戏，毕竟它还是不一样的
They
游
were
戏。
very different
因为虽然
games.
说它是一样是射击，可是它混一点 MOBA 的。
And there are some things
所
I
以
can take over.
对我
Usually
来
I
讲
came
一开
from
始我会
MOBAs.
觉得 我好像没办法把原本的东西
And actually, at first I felt like I don't know what I can bring to Overwatch here. So I did a lot of study, I did a lot of research myself, which was a lot of hard work. But I feel like I still need to do more work here.
我觉得这种东西是大家一起努力的。
And I feel like it's also a group effort as well. We're all learning together.
季后赛，那各位我要对粉丝说的一些话。
Do you have any messages to your fans?
没办法，就是粉丝就最喜欢你们跟他们讲话。
So fans really like it when you talk to them. So
哭了，对不对？
do you have any thoughts for them?
那些私讯我要问我闪光怎么玩的，拜托你们先去买个144赫兹的荧幕再来问我。
你这是在帮144赫兹荧幕工商吗？
因为这个东西实在太重要了，你眼睛真的是需要144赫兹，不然
对。
那个会超级
So he's saying a lot of fans ask me how to play Tracer well. He's saying you need a high hertz monitor, is what he's saying.
被你这样一讲，我忘记我刚刚讲什么了。
I forgot what I was going to say.
然后是荧幕，
然后知道是荧幕。
总之就是真的为了这一季 OPC 准备了很多东西。
I prepared a lot for the OPC.
在季后赛的时候
I really hope in the
可以展
playoffs
现出我们最好的一面。
we can show our best performance.
是，谢谢教练。
And for Ray?
哦，不会啦，有什么好官腔的？没有，就是我期望季后赛就是大家
We hope
都
in the playoffs
能够到现场来看比赛。
Everyone can come and watch it.
非常刺激，真的。
It'll be
绝对
very
要
exciting.
来现场
So
看
please come and watch our
那
match.
我们一定会呈现很完美、很完美、很精彩的赛事。
And we will do our very best here and put on a really good show for everybody.
对，谢谢。
OK， 那这
Thank you
边
for
的
that.
话也非常谢谢闪电狼接受我们的访问哦。那这边
So
来
thank you very
跟各位
much for
观
Flash
众
Wolves.
现在讲一下就是季后
So there it
赛
is.
的时候
So as we're saying, some very
Yeah.
interesting thoughts there, and obviously very much looking forward to the playoffs and looking forward to showing their best performance there. And for Zonda, he's not even looking at that; he's already looking at the World Cup. So his eyes are elsewhere.
They want the home team victory. I almost like to imagine now if AHQ do make the playoffs that like halfway through the finals, they're just going to go like, yeah, all right, just like get up from their keyboards, like go hug it out or something. You know, it's all right. Never mind.
Here's
Never mind
something.
that.
Here's something though. I think Blank versus AHQ. Two things. Flash Wolves will want AHQ to win, obviously because AHQ are the easier competition versus Blank. Secondly, they want AHQ to win because then someone eliminates Blank, either for them and also because it's Blank. And then if Blank actually beat AHQ and then go on to face Flash Wolves in the finals, on some level, I like to think that AHQ might be rooting for Flash Wolves there to win as well.
I would imagine so. And the thing that kind of gets carried into that, I'll be completely frank with you, given that today was AHQ's send-off, they are looking worse for wear than Blank are. And I don't feel like it's fair for them to say anymore, oh, we're just trying things out, because
It's too late for that.
Yeah, it's too late. And we've seen them actually today, they were playing normal. They were playing their quote unquote A game, and they looked shaky. They did look rough. Weaknesses were exposed. And I almost feel like they've been hiding behind that as a convenient excuse because you can't prove it wrong when you've got such a limited set. But I'll be honest now, with about 4 or 5 series of rough games leading into the playoffs, AHQ are looking like the weakest
Let's be
team.
honest. You're not going to openly admit, yeah, we suck now.
Yeah,
like,
of course
let's
you're
just
not.
be really honest about that. You will be actively trying to patch up any problems, and your statement will be that we are patching up problems, and that's just the truth. You're not going to go out and then say, yeah, we're not doing too well. That's just not something you publicly say to your opponents. So absolutely understood there. It's not a convenient excuse. It's actually telling the truth, and also you don't want to show that weakness because if it is an excuse, you wouldn't be wanting to say the truth anyway. So it all makes sort of sense. We'll be happy to find out what happens with AHQ and Blank anyway, but there's actually still one more day worth of competition. And the biggest match I want to talk about is actually Hong Kong Attitude versus Five, but we're not going to talk too much about it because we'll save it for the actual broadcast, but that should be really interesting.
Oh boy, will it be. I mean, even just if tonight is anything to go off, I mean, Fireball are just always such an exciting team to watch. Hong Kong Attitude, I mean, they want to push it over the line naturally. They're going to be, really smacked that they didn't get anything against Flash Wolves tonight, especially where it looked like Fireball were nearly going to. I mean, Fireball took them to Golden Point. Hong Kong Attitude didn't even do that. That is going to be a really exciting match to kick off tomorrow.
Pretty much. And just before we do a send-off here, so just to recap, tomorrow will be, actually for today, Machi and AHQ started out 3-0 for AHQ, then AHQ beat Fireball 3-2. Flash Wolves came in and did basically the same 3-0 against Fireball, then took another 3-0 against Hong Kong Attitude. And again for tomorrow, we talked about it a little bit already. Fireball going to start things off against Hong Kong Attitude in the opening match. And then after that, it will be Sun Sister versus Hong Kong Attitude in their final game. Hong Kong Attitude will finish up the season after that. third match of the day is going to end up being Detonator versus Sun Sister, and that's an important one because it will be Sun Sister's final opportunity to get that match win against Detonator. That's exactly what they need right now, and hopefully they can get that. We'll find out anyway, and we're going to finish off the season with Detonator against Flash Wolves, and that will be the final match of the regular season. I can't wait to find out what happens tomorrow.
1 day left.
Exactly 1 day left until we head into the playoffs. So, from the Full Circle production team, thank you very much for joining us tonight, and we hope we can see you again tomorrow for 4 more exciting matches as we conclude the formal season play of Season 1 of the OPC. Thank you very much. I've been Kevin AVRL. Joining with me tonight has been Matt Pixie Caron. Earlier on tonight, you also had Dallas Easy 530 and Matt Smite Ross, and we will see you tomorrow. Thank you again.